have a lead.
Look at us now. Tip to
Jesus.
Shout to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
to us, doing what we love. But it's time to bang. Oh, yeah. The only combat sports show fueled by melancholy, gas station Delta 8s, and a copious amount of infinite sadness. You've arrived. It is Morning Kombat, Monday, July 29th, 2024. My name is B. Sizzle, Brian Campbell. The guy next to me, body for days, but diarrhea for life. It's Luke Thomas. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. I had enormous diarrhea over the weekend. What can I say?
I mean, you may or may not have texted me from Joseph A. Bang.
I took, and I'm not joking about this. I took one of the great dumps of my life in a Joseph A. Bank.
Would you say it was
over the weekend?
What's the guy's name? Dan Murgliata-esque?
Oh, dude.
Big John in Tokyo?
I'll leave it to you this way. Triple flusher.
Wow.
Triple.
Wow. Okay, that's a little too personal there. You know,
triple.
Wow, that's gross.
A double is a lot.
Yeah.
A triple is very unusual.
Oh, animal style, I'm sure, right out of your a-hole. Hey, this is a show that breaks things down on combat sports, and we got a lot of things to break down this week. UFC 304 recap. And my apologies to Belal Muhammad this morning.
Well, I mean, I've got some crow to eat, but you got a lot of crow to eat.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to eat some of that, apparently. Now serving crow. We're going to break down all things. Hey, how about what a night for Patty Pimblett. You know, good thing I called it, Luke. I mean, to be fair, right? But wow. We're also going to welcome, I think, 3 spectacular guests.
Randy Couture.
Randy Couture at noon. No.
The truth about Randy Couture is he's always with us.
He will always be
in spirit, you know what I'm saying?
On his way here. Brian Ortega, my favorite active MMA fighter, Luke, will be here supposedly at noon in second half of the show. How about Andy Ruiz Jr., the former heavyweight champion of the world, who is going to be back this Saturday, August 3rd, by the way.
Taking on Jarrell Miller, right?
Yes, in the big Saudi arrival card for Riyadh season on U.S. soil in L.A. Terence Crawford, obviously in the main event, moving up to face Israel Madrimov. More on that to come in the show. But this could be epic. I have a smaller batch of Shiite, but it's decently potent. Can we bring in Long Island Luke here? Luke, can you speak to the potency of my feces?
It's very potent. I could smell it from here.
I'm excited.
Okay.
And here's the reality. We have 2 guests booked. Will they show up? I don't know. You never know in the world of combat sports whether or not the MMA fighters or the boxers will be there. I try not to hold grudges anymore. I won't.
Yeah, right. You try that to.
I said anymore.
Anymore. Oh, sorry. But so Joanna will be a life.
Well, that one was just so uniquely awful. But the reality is, I'm not even expecting it. If they post, I consider that a bonus. You know what I'm saying? I consider that a bonus. Also, we should make sure we thank our friends at DraftKings Network. MK, part of the DraftKings Network.
You could be watching this right now every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern on the DraftKings Network.
Shouts
Watch
to them.
Morning
Shouts to those
Kombat. We are live from Metal Arc Studio here in Manhattan. I mentioned Long Island Luke on the 1s and 2s. I believe you can follow us on our, social handles. I will be burping this whole show right then and there. And also the merch, Luke. I've got this hat right here. I've got this fantastic shirt.
Yeah, I got this jacket.
All right.
We're still in the middle of summer, but winter not far away.
So you want to look in that
Fall,
bomber
anyway.
jacket? You want to be fly in that bomber jacket? Go to morningkombat.store.
I'm gonna take this to Bogota.
Oh, nice.
Tomorrow.
If you want to get 10% off, you can use our code LIVE10 right now. Tell RJ that your boy BC sent you. Anything else you wanna rap about? Or are we good here?
Going on vacation tomorrow.
You need it.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
You should bang that trip, right?
I'm going to try. I'm going to my first ever Colombian wedding.
Oh, what is the tradition? Because if you said you were going to Greece, I'd be like, we're going to smash the plates. If you said we're going to a Portuguese wedding, which I've been to, they're like 9 hours. There's like 5 courses.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to expect. I'm told that there are 300 people coming. My daughter is the flower girl, so she's actually in the wedding.
Not a lick of English will be spoken at this event, right?
My daughter's Spanish is fluent. She's good to go. Oh, there'll be some English. But not much. I mean, if you're asking how many Americans will be there, 1 out of 300, baby.
All right. What about the facilities in case you get an attack?
I'm not sure where the wedding is. My wife has been doing all of the assessments of that.
What percentage of the toilets in the nation of Colombia would be first world enough for me to entertain. And mind you, I have a long history of gross bathroom use and gas stations. So don't worry about the grossness.
I would say nearly 100%. Like, you wouldn't have to worry about that at all.
You know what's really gross? National park bathrooms. You know those like side of the road?
No,
like
there is nothing worse, and I've seen everything. I have been to third world countries. I've been to developing nations. I've lived, obviously, in the United States of America. I've traveled all over the world. I've been into virtually every continent. Never been to Australia, never been to Antarctica, but I've been basically everywhere else. The grossest bathroom I have ever seen.
Yes.
The porta potties at the Renaissance Festival.
Oh, I was going to go with Newark Penn Station.
It's like someone took a dump and peed on top of Planned Parenthood. I mean, it just looks like there's just abortions being committed in there.
Okay, but get your turkey legs before they sell out. All right, there you go.
There's nothing worse.
Okay, there's a lot of grossness to open the show. Some people did come ultimately for martial arts, mixed kind. So why don't we give them that to them right frickin' now. Topic number 1 on this Monday morning looks back at what went down late night in Manchester, England, right? Sunrise, I believe, came up as we saw UFC 304 roll out with 2 title fights atop the marquee. None bigger, though, in terms of big breakthroughs and takeaways than Belal Muhammad. Remember the name. Muhammad made sure that name would be remembered in history by upsetting Leon Edwards via unanimous decision to take their welterweight title. And by the way, break Luke Thomas's 35 and over welterweight or below curse on the men's side. Tyron Woodley, formerly the only person to do it, but Luke, he won the title before he was 35. So at 36, Belal Muhammad smashed a lot of things. Speaking of that, Luke, alongside with an apology that he has coming from me, what specifically did we all miss when we handicapped this fight? Some more aggressively than others. What did we miss in what Belal was able to ultimately do to Leon?
We have to have a conversation in a moment about what time this event took place.
Yes.
And then to what extent we think that matters. Maybe you think it matters a lot. Maybe you think it matters very little. That is a portion of the conversation. But for the interest of just understanding what happened in the fight, let's put that to the side for just a moment and talk about what we saw in the fight itself. Okay. So on Friday's MK, we had discussed this, and I can speak for myself. I had argued I didn't see an obvious path for him. Those were the language that I used. And
you didn't say, you're going to get tuned up like a guitar. You didn't do anything like that.
I didn't do that. And again, I was always of the belief that, the odds were pretty close. Bilal's been on a great win streak.
Yeah.
There's some questions about how good some of the wins were, but in general, he's been active. He's been winning. MMA's crazy. Things you don't expect to happen. Sure enough, here we are. But that's not really an explanation. I think there's a couple of things that I go to in this one. First of all, Belal Muhammad and the wrestling and then the sort of offensive cycle he was able to get going was much better than I anticipated. I knew he could wrestle. I knew he had some of that in him, but it really all came together. He had a very clear sense of what he wanted to do, what positions he was trying to achieve, and that made a big difference. Secondly, his striking, it's not Canelo.
It's not Canelo or Marquez, but I take back anything in terms of where my expectations were on how quickly he could evolve that dude.
But at a bare minimum, BC, and surely you would agree with this, it was very useful.
Very useful.
Very
Great
useful.
jab.
Very useful. The jab landed. It was good at backing Leon up. It was good about setting up all the different strikes that he wanted to get going. That was very, very impressive as well. Also, BC, you go back to even the press conference when Leon made him, when he flinched at him and Belal just no-sold it completely.
That's what I should have saw.
And you asked
that's what
me
I should have read.
Right,
Yep.
you had asked me on Friday about, he's making this all a grudge match. And what I was saying to you, sometimes it can be a distraction, sometimes it can be fuel. Clearly. Dude, he acted with purpose from the word go. You saw the result. He was a man possessed, on fire.
Yes.
He knew he was going to win. And also, he was kind of overcome with emotion a little bit when he won, but not really. It wasn't go back and look at Holly Holm when she knocked out Ronda Rousey. She was covering her face oh my God, I cannot believe where I am. Belal was, I think, elated, but then you see him afterwards. This was exactly what he expected to happen. I think it's a competitive mindset. I think they ironed out a great game plan, which he executed very, very well. I do want to say, I'm not making this argument that, is that the best Leon or did he have an off night? But he did make partly because Belal put him in that position, but he made a series of very, very weird decisions.
Did you hear him say afterwards, not using it as an excuse, but when they said, what went wrong after the fight, he basically said, the time change, I felt exhausted all week. He wasn't saying that as this is the reason why UFC screwed me. He took the loss, gave Belal the respect, but he did say I felt weak all week because of that time adjustment. I know you want to talk about that.
I do want to talk about that in a minute, but let me tell you one reason why that falls a little flat for me.
Sure.
Not all of it falls flat, but one reason why it falls flat is I went back and I was like, and I've got a video coming out about this on my YouTube channel, which is I went back and I watched and I was like, okay, wait a second, time out here. Why wasn't Kamaru Usman able to do this?
Yeah.
Like, what happened there? So I went back and I watched the Usman fight and I watched how we set it up. I'm going to tell you that the striking of, and just by the way, the offensive urgency and the how constantly Belal was on him, Kamaru wasn't doing that, number one. Number two, the functional value of it, getting him to back up was a lot better. But the other part is, if you go back and you look at some of the ways in which he was able to set up the takedowns, and there was a difference in the takedowns he was executing versus Kamaru. But one of the big things that I noticed was if you go back and look at Leon's standing southpaw, right? So he's standing just like this I am in front of you. Go back and watch. He had this weird high elbow block, which you sometimes see. I have bad shoulder rotation, so I can't really do it. But sometimes you'll see Dustin Poirier do it, but usually more in open space. Leon's up against the fence, nearly square, somewhat in a southpaw stance, and then he's elbow blocking. Dude, Belal shot right underneath this yawning gap of space that he gave him. I can buy, BC, I honestly can buy that fighting at 6 a.m. is probably not optimal for anybody. I can believe that.
But they signed the contract first and foremost.
I understand, but I'm saying if you were thinking of a time, if you wanted to get the very best out of all your athletes, would you pick 6 a.m.? Probably not. On the other hand, this tactical decision to block strikes that way, you opened the door for Belal, and he just walked right on in. That is on Leon and nobody else. BC, I pitch it back to you.
Sure.
Tell me what you saw out of all of this.
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. I said coming in that I loved the intangibles about Belal. So, the motor, what I saw was great poise and mental toughness to get him this far. But obviously, Luke, I gotta take the big L. I mean, you're gonna come out. If I'm gonna come out and aggressively say, look, I'm sorry, I don't trust Blaydes' chin. I like Aspinall by early knockout. Nailed it. I'm sorry, Patty is going to make a statement here and get a finish. I didn't call the right finish. Nailed it. Yeah, Luke, I felt the same vibes and feels of where Belal's status was. And I felt it was different from when I underrated Leon on the rise up. And Leon surprised me in ways that I didn't think he would. I wonder if that led to us overrating Leon. We can get to that in a second. But yeah, I'm sitting here humbly apologizing and happy that Belal was able to break through so far above what my expectations were. Luke, I knew he brought that stuff to the table. Did he put the threat of the takedown and the striking together in a more seamless fashion than I thought he was going to be able to? Yes, and that's a credit to him at 36 for improving so much in the 3 years since their first fight. But Luke, ultimately, what I missed the most, a lot of people are comparing lightly his style and what he did to Khabib because Khabib had been in his corner in the past and had helped him during training camp. They have the same manager. I want to make a Khabib comparison here, but it actually isn't the wrestling. What impressed me and shocked me the most was he had Khabib-like mental focus. And it wasn't just focused through all the critics, the loudmouths like me being like, I just don't see it. I don't see him at this level. I was wrong. Did I go too far, Luke? And was I disrespectful? I could have been towing the line for the purposes of entertainment, so I humbly take that.
I would say this, if I may say it fairly. I don't think you were trying to be mean. I don't believe that. But you've done it, what I've done before, because I've absolutely done this. I've made this mistake before. Indignant at the idea that the guy you thought couldn't win, like you were, like there's just no way, and then very dismissive of it. I've made the exact same mistake.
But I was ultimately wrong at where I thought his ceiling was, and that's why I make the Khabib comparison. Habib. It was Habib-like mental focus and toughness, not just for the critics that saying he had no chance, not just for how long he had to wait, never the promotion's darling. He's 36 by the time he gets the title shot. But everything across the board was so damn poised and focused. Luke, his confidence was through the roof, and it was so firm that what did I miss? What was my biggest takeaway I'm missing? I misread the entire fight week and sort of where he was and whether this stage was going to be too bright for him. Luke, I want to throw to his post-fight comments because I was so impressed, because this could have been his opportunity to dunk on everybody, all the critics and everything. But instead, what he delivered is ultimately who he is and maybe a lot of the reason why he's here. He's humble, hardworking, he's a warrior, and he never stopped believing in himself.
It sounds like all those people booing right now got a lot of tears coming down their eyes. I see you guys with watery eyes right now. I got my family in here. I got all my family at home. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, God first always. Secondly, this fight is nothing. This is for my family, my people in Palestine. They're fighting the real fight. And Charlotte puts a smile on their face. One of them guys over there. I'm just trying to do my part. Alhamdulillah always.
I've had people say, Luke, doesn't he actually embody what your BS Factory Town MMA idea would be? Yeah, he kind of does. I missed completely what this guy was all about. I thought he was acting out of character. Turns out he was just sharpening his focus. I give him credit. He was fighting for more. We're going to praise, Usyk and those guys who kind of came off the front lines when their nation was at war and put that focus together and fought for their people. As you could hear from him, he just did that right there. He was exactly who he needed to be when the moment demanded the most out of him. And like you said afterwards, that cool, calm celebration showed you that this is a big thing in his life, but there's much bigger, and this is just part of it. I was very impressed with the character that he ultimately showed. And I don't care that Dana didn't love it and it wasn't exciting. I'm not here to disparage or take anything away from this win. Leon ultimately surprised me by not being as thorough as I thought he would. I thought he would handle what Belal brought in, but the reason why he didn't, I'm going to say, is more Belal than anything else. He stepped up his game when it mattered most.
It wasn't that there wasn't any case for some skepticism, some rational skepticism. Belal was 36. We talk about the 35. It's not a curse. It's just a statistic. But we talk about it. The way he had broke it, I misunderstood it a little bit. The way he had broke it is Tyron won the title at 34, and his defenses came after. Belal is the first guy to win it at 170 and below at above 35 years of age, 36. But I'll say a couple of things. One, he was 36, and we're like, well, that doesn't bode well, statistically speaking. And then two, we had said, remember, he had come off he had 3 Usman fights, but he'd come off the 2 back-to-back Usman fights. And then the Colby fight sucked, but, getting ready for Colby, you have to know wrestling is going to be a chief concern that you have to be prepared for. And we thought, wow, man, Belal is 36. He's getting a guy coming off the Colby and Usman wars, or battles anyway. This is just a bad time. And then in retrospect, what you realize is the long path that Belal had to take to get here actually slowly but very effectively fine-tuned him.
It did.
Just for this moment. And I'm going to say this too. The Colby fight, not so much. But certainly in the 2 back-to-back Usman fights, I watched those in real time, and we did breakdowns on them, and I thought, wow, man, I don't know how you can improve upon this. I don't know if it was Belal himself. I don't know if it was Belal and his coaches. I don't know if it was Habib. But they took the good parts of what Belal has done and built, and they kind of refined the universe of what he should try to do and made him stick to that. Wow, that worked.
Yes.
That worked really, really well. And I did not know. And I went back and I watched, like I said, I went back and I watched the Usman fight, the 3rd Usman fight. Like, how the hell was Usman not able to do that? And again, I'm going to break some of this down a little bit later. They took some of the stuff that worked that Usman did well in the 3rd fight, but they picked up on a couple of tendencies that I haven't seen anybody else talk about yet that went wrong for Usman, that they corrected, that allowed Belal to find the takedown more successfully and then manage to hold position once he got it. Man, I got to tell you, Leon Edwards, you saw it. There was one takedown in open space. Or takedown attempt, I should say. And Leon stuffed it beautifully. And up against the fence, people are like, oh, his takedown defense is really good. And it is.
Sure.
And it is. But Belal and his team, or if Belal Muhammad is watching, I don't know. Belal, buddy, whoever came up with the game plan that they had for the specific kinds of takedowns and the nature in which they were shot, and then the offensive sequence that went with it, boy, they did their homework. Such a sharp eye. I was blown away. I was like, I could not figure it out.
That's the thing. He didn't just out gas tank him. It was out thought him, out game planned him, out adapted.
Yes.
And that's where it's like, I don't want to take anything away. So I don't want to do the revisionist history of, do we go back and did we overrate Leon's rise?
No, it was pretty great.
I mean, no, I want to say no, because he had to go through Usman twice. He had to go through a Colby who's still difficult if you're not strong in that one area. But you did see the revisionist history right away. People going, see, I told you Leon was overrated. Either way, Belal gets that credit. But man, he did it in every category to get it done. That's why I don't take anything away because it wasn't exciting. he shut down everything Leon does.
He did shut everything Leon does. And again, he had picked up, there's, I don't want to spoil it, but there are a couple of defensive tendencies in takedowns along the fence that Leon makes that, again, was it Khabib? Was it Belal? Was it his coaches? Was it a combination of all three? I don't know. But they read it. And I went back and I looked at the Luque fight and I looked at the Thompson fight. 5 takedowns in the Luque fight, 7 takedowns in the Thompson fight. And you don't see these tendencies in those fights. You see some of it, but not really. In this one, you see a clear, distinct way in which he tries to position himself around Leon to set up the offensive sequences that come after it. And they did such a good job. I didn't think he could do it. I wasn't like completely blown away that he did it, but I was skeptical. Man, that long road to the title, that long road, he really, really earned that opportunity. And I mean, you want to talk about making the most of it by picking up where Usman and Colby could not do it and then improving upon that.
And his fans
what a
reminded
job.
me that if we're going to discount the quality of the win over Gilbert Burns to get here because of how Gilbert was
injured.
A short camp. Let's not forget that Belal was coming through Ramadan for that training camp and really had to. I mean, look, he's had to jump over hurdles and push himself and be as mentally tough as possible. I want to make sure at least post I don't miss that.
Yes, and I also want to say this too. Like one thing we had said was, there was questions about some of those wins, like the Luque win, who was Luque at the time, and who was Thompson. I tell you what, someone brought this up to me. I forget who it was on Twitter. They're like, shouldn't you go back and reevaluate that Sean Brady win? Well, I got to tell you, that Sean Brady win is aging nicely.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe Brady got rattled, but like, look at the pressure that Belal puts on people. I'm going to point this out. The level of activity. How much rest does Belal give you? Not much. He constantly forces you to play a game where you can't think through decisions. And so you make suboptimal ones. You'll make defensive lapses. You'll make wrong offensive reads, or at least not the right ones, suboptimally. And then he's just all over you because he's built in this reaction machine that he's got. And I want to point this out. Like, people don't talk about this enough. Once he shoots, he knows exactly where he's going. And if you defend this way, he knows exactly what the response will be. And if you defend that way, he knows exactly what the third option should be. There's a route tree that he knows offensively and goes to it. And it's very, very difficult to deal with.
But he needs the 5-round championship cardio, despite this was only his second fight that went to the 5th round in his career. So it's like he had that when he needed it at 36. So Luke, not Woodley, Edwards ends up losing 3-2, 3-2, and 4-1. He rallies back in the 5th round to cut Belal, and Belal has to show the toughness and keep that gas tank together to survive that. Most people across the board, I believe, are giving Leon round 3, as you should, because he did rebound down 0-2, seemingly to kind of dominate that round, start to finish on the ground, getting a takedown of his own and threatening subs throughout. But Luke, I want to run what happened in round 2 and ask you, look, this was Muhammad causing this to him, so it's no excuse. But how much did this pile driver here, Luke, in which Leon did not protect his head, in your opinion, affect him? It had to be some. You can't say you can't put all your eggs in that basket because he came out around after this and completely dominated Belal. What do you think, though? This had to rattle the cobwebs in the head and really put you in a tough spot.
I don't think it was great. He did post on the hand there to mitigate that somewhat.
That was bad, though.
Couldn't have helped. Probably rattled him. But, like, remember, dude, Belal got a takedown 20 seconds into the first round. And you didn't hear Leon complain about it afterwards. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been complained about or that there aren't issues about spiking him on his head that particular way. But that just doesn't explain why.
Should we outlaw that in MMA, or is it outlawed?
So it is. So one outlaws it completely.
Okay, one has it. In the UFC, you can still technically spike on the top of the head?
I think there are certain ways about how you can and can't do it. You can do it, I think, as part of an arc. I have to go back and look at some of the rules. There are ways in which you can do it.
That would
it's
seem like
strictly forbidden in one.
I would think that you can outlaw that and it's not going to hurt the game, because how many people try to weaponize that? Obviously, when you pick somebody up, your goal is to slam them and try to add injury to that and jump on top of them. But if it's something that can lead somebody paralyzed, we probably should get ahead of that, right?
Again, I don't think it's a very essential technique. Also, I don't think he meant to do it. I think he meant to just turn him over. I don't think he meant to drive, which doesn't necessarily,
Do you think Leon gassed himself out at all by using so much energy in round 3 to take the back? I'm trying to figure out what happened in 4 or 5, where, yes, he did rally in the 5th.
He rallied
His coach
big time
gave
in the
another
5th. I mean, that was a great rally in the 5th.
But he was unable to keep Belal off of him. Was Leon in rounds 4 or 5 for the most part?
Belal was just better.
That's what I'm saying.
Belal was just better overall. I mean, again, in open space, if there was no wall and they could just fight forever, takedowns are going to be hard to come by for Belal. Some of them he would still get, but they'd be hard to come by. If they were striking in open space, and he wasn't really so much worried about having to be taken down against the wall, maybe Leon's better. I just lost my hearing in this thing. Can you still hear me talk?
I can hear you.
There we
yeah.
go.
We're back.
But that's not the game they're playing. Like, for example, was it round 2, I believe? Edwards has an underhook, and he's blocking the far side hip like this, and he's turning him off the fence. Belal just took that and then switched to a knee tap and then ran him right over back to the back there. Like, he was on top of it. On top of it. They knew, he
was preparing for the rematch for 3 years while Edwards was the one who was actually maybe overlooking it.
I hate that the Niños say this these days, but he knew the assignment. He knew the assignment. He prepared for that test much better than Leon Edwards
So to the
did.
victor goes the spoils, and it might be Shavkat Rakhmonov next. At 36 here, Belal raised his stock. He's probably going to get some pound-for-pound votes rightfully after what he just did to a guy that I believe was in the top 3 or 4 on most people's list. Luke, how do you like Belal's chances leaning into his strengths like he did against Edwards, even against somebody like Shavkat?
So I think, listen, Belal is obviously not a champion by accident. Got here the hard way, beat people that no one wanted. No one wanted to fight Sean Brady. He did it, and he fucking stopped him, right? And obviously everyone wants to fight Leon, but not very easy to do, and you saw what Belal did. So it would be very, very foolish to just dismiss the idea that Belal can't retain, right away. I don't want to be that guy. But I do think it's fair to say, if you want to be fair to both guys, Shavkat is a tough fucking customer, man.
Yeah.
And he's got all kinds of tricks and throws up against the fence. That's the interesting part, because if he stops the takedown up against the fence, or at least holds it off for just a moment, dude, he's got all kinds of tricks, trips, throws, you name it, from that position to get on top. 17 fights, 17 wins, 17 finishes. And that's the other part. Look at Leon, who was able to reverse position in the 5th, and it was enough to win the 5th, at least on a couple of the judges' scorecards, and certainly, it was a gruesome scene there for a moment. If you let Shavkat hang around for 25 minutes,
True.
I'm not sure there's a person in MMA in the welterweight division he can't beat
I'm
under
intrigued
that
by that
condition.
fight, though. I'm intrigued.
Oh, it's very
It's
like,
gonna be,
like
I'd
dude,
love to see it in Chicago.
Belal is going to win rounds against that guy. Make no mistake. Make
we don't
no
see
mistake.
big fights in either sport. Big fights in Chicago. I'd like to see that be an excuse. Let's.
When they were with Fox, when UFC had the Fox deal, remember Shevchenko did the armbar on Holly Holm.
Yes.
Over in Chicago. They used to go to Chicago quite frequently. Bellator made it a big deal there.
I think it was a decision against Holm. You're saying she submitted Holm?
Or was it Pena that she hit the armbar
yes.
on? Either way, one of those fights took place in Chicago.
Yep.
There was a
It was a
Shevchenko
big Fox one,
Fox card in Chicago. But also, Bellator used to go there quite frequently. Now, by the way, I don't know if folks picked up on this news. They had an event Bellator did scheduled for September. That event is canceled, or it's going to be rescheduled. You can no longer get tickets for it. They took it off the list. So just pointing out there's something else, that there's a market there that I think could be really great for everybody.
Even for Bellator.
Well, Bellator is just a name at this point.
Luke, we mentioned the whole bonus thing. We have sound of Dana White being... So this is not his specific sound where he reacted to this fight, where he did sound a little bit disappointed, didn't think it was a barn burner, didn't think it was exciting enough. But overall, Luke, he seemed upset about getting tricked into once again raising the bonuses during the press conference. Here's his words in general about 304.
Every time you get on a press conference, the fighters manage to get you to up the bonuses. Do you think there's an argument that maybe you should just up them to...
I think tonight showed that we should not, no. Upping them doesn't change anything. It doesn't make anybody fight any harder. It doesn't change anything. I'm not doing this again. Ever. Today was the last day that I'm doing that, yeah. Not saying that in the future the bonuses couldn't get up, but I'm not going to be at a press conference and say 200, 300, fucking never again. Never again. So you can thank everybody on this card for that.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Nobody fought any harder. There was no sense of urgency. Holy shit, I want the 100,000.
3 a.m.
7 straight. Who gives a fuck? It's fucking 7 o'clock in Vegas. So whatever. Yeah. Never again.
Okay. And last...
7 straight fucking decisions. Yeah. The 100,000 was a real big fucking woohoo. Let's get it, boys. Fuck that shit. Never again.
Okay.
Luke, I do think Patty and Tom Aspinall kind of saved this card in a way because it was all those decisions in a row that weren't peaking for full excitement. Is this the boss just being angry that they didn't bring it to his level, or what do you make of
Who
this?
else in this room has argued that upping the bonuses did nothing to actually incentivize
You
a
were
change
wrong
in
about
behavior?
UFC 300.
I definitely don't
you
think
were
I
wrong
was.
on that.
I definitely don't think
I
I
think
was.
if you did a poll of the audience,
that has nothing to do with the truth value of anything. Polling the audience, what does that mean?
are you trying to insult the intelligence level of my audience?
You could poll anybody. Polling them is not evidence of anything. The reality is what you can reasonably demonstrate as an incentivizing factor by a noticeable and clear change in behavior, of which there is not enough evidence to conclude that. And now we have another one.
Conversation have to be a scientific study.
It's not, but like if you're going to make a claim, hey, doing this changes behavior, you have to have evidence for your claim.
I mean, is this the like I said, it hit a ditch, this card, but they pulled it out. I don't know if this was the card to be like, this sucks. I'm the hater lately, and I'm telling you I enjoy this card.
I agree with Dana that upping the bonuses doesn't do anything, but of course, like that's not a reason to not pay the guys more because like they deserve more. That's a different conversation. But I would say this: it is very, very hilarious to me that they booked a card at 6 a.m. with a main event that anybody with half a brain knew did not necessarily have the highest potential for
a
finish or even great action necessarily, and then blaming the fighters for not like rescuing it from that reality. That's a choice. That's a choice you can make if you want to.
I agree with you. I don't like it. Dana had one other choice to make. I do want to get your take on this when the whole flag gate was brought up again. Let's listen to this reporter's question.
Belal Muhammad's corner put the Palestine flag behind him on the fence, and what it looked like from press row was they were told to put it down. So I was just wondering, because there were other flags shown throughout the night, if that was kind of random or if that's a policy thing because of the war.
Hey, what?
Belal Muhammad's corner had the Palestine flag behind him, and
Dana doing a bit here when he can never hear the question.
So was that random, or is it like a policy thing because of?
He put a what?
Palestine flag.
Oh, Palestine flag, and somebody said take it down? Who said take it down?
I don't know who it was, but it looked like it was someone from the UFC. There was like two people just like telling them to don't put it, don't put it on the fence.
Looked like there were people from UFC? Were they wearing fucking UFC hats or
no, I mean
name tags?
Otherwise, they wouldn't have been right at the octagon.
I have no idea.
But there's no like new flag policy thing because of anything.
I have no idea. I get what you're trying to do, but I have no idea.
I was just wondering because.
Yeah. I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do. Good try. I have no idea, but good try. You guys love to do that shit.
Well, he's in a mood.
This is not a gotcha
Have a good
setup.
night.
This is, and he walked off.
Yeah,
like,
he was in a bad mood.
But like, to be fair, this is not a gotcha thing. This is has your policy
if he
changed,
didn't
right?
know that there, I mean, he's the CEO, so I don't know why he wouldn't know. But assuming he didn't know what happened, I understand being like, I'd have to look into it. I genuinely do not know.
But what's this always this disdain for the fucking media? But this is not the media trying to spin something. This is literally a guy doing his job trying to get an answer about a topic that connects far beyond fight sports.
The media doing its job is what disturbs him. That's the point I'm trying to like. That's what people don't seem to understand. Like, and also like getting clarification. Is there a change in flag policy? But I will say this in defense of UFC, I think he did walk out with the flag. Did he not? He walked out with the flag, and then his walkout song is a song by a Palestinian artist, and the name of the song is "My Blood Is Palestinian."
Yeah.
So like, his overtures to his culture seem to be accepted on the broadcast, but I don't know what the flag policy is at this point either. I don't know.
Well, Luke, let me tell you, in a world of slot reels and blackjack deals, if you can let me transition out of this topic,
I do want to talk one more thing. What about the time zone? What about the timing of the event?
So you heard Dana quickly say no to it. My belief here is it affects everybody, but if everybody signs up for it and has the same thing to overcome, it's like if you and I signed for a number one contender fight on 2 weeks' notice, but we're both dealing with that same 2 weeks' notice, then it's equal. You either take it or you don't, ultimately. Same thing with fighting in another country in a different time zone. Same thing, unfortunately, with fighting at 5 a.m. Do I want title fights locally at 5 and 6 a.m.? No. But again, there is some leverage. There is some negotiation, some level for stars, and you ultimately can walk out and say, I don't want this fight in this situation. If everybody has to do it, Luke, then to me it's even keel. Same thing with the sphere. Who knows what the sphere's unique atmosphere will do to a fighter's focus, to everything? Like this could be, sea level Kane levels of just like shock and sort of shaking you up. but everybody's going to agree to do it. They agree to do it, so I'm okay with it.
I'm with that argument. I think that's fair. I think if you agree to do it and you have time to prepare for it and it goes poorly for you, you just kind of have to live with the consequences a little bit. I would say a couple of things, though. One, people are like, oh, well, Belal had the jet lag. Right, but Belal is still fighting on East Coast time. He's still fighting on the timing of the UFC pay-per-view did not change for East Coast American fans. His clock is still attuned to that. So while there may be jet lag in the sense of normalizing on a Manchester calendar,
Sure.
It's still the clock he's keeping largely in the U.S. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is Leon has to just recognize that some of his tactical decisions were really poor. I mentioned the high elbow blocking. That was just a really, really bad decision. So he has to live with that. The thing I will say, though, is, and I had a back and forth with a positive one, but with Jake Donovan. Jake Donovan. A well-known and very respected boxing reporter. Shouts to Jake Donovan. He's great.
Long-time boxing scene guy.
Right. So we were trying to go back and forth about I was like, I could not imagine an A-side in boxing agreeing to, on the promoter's behalf, a 5 or 6 a.m. show. And his point was, well, some of these Saudi cards are 2 and 3 a.m. Okay, right. Fair. That's a fair point. Because if you're getting Saudi Arabian money to put on a fight at 2 or 3 in the morning, they have properly incentivized you to eat shit on that time so you can do it. But none of those dynamics are in play for this one. Would Bud Crawford, for a European card, fight at 6 in the morning?
It depends where a fighter is in their arc. For example, Ricky Hatton, his big breakthrough title win was over Kostiazou. He did it at home in the UK.
That was in Manchester, right?
Yeah, they did it on Showtime, but they did it live on East Coast time, so it was the same exact thing. And everybody there had to stay up until the middle of the night to do that. But again, at that point, that was what was demanded in the TV landscape. You could easily make the argument now that, especially with UFC's distribution deal and that, how expected was this card to do big pay-per-view numbers anyway? Does it even matter to their bottom line? Would I, on the East Coast, who this is supposed to be aiming for, would I rather have it regular time at 1:30 a.m. or would I rather have it, dinner time at 5 p.m. Eastern? I'd rather have that. So it really comes down to me, who has the leverage to push against that? If you don't, and that's your fight and you have to sign up for it, well, then everybody's dealing with it. But I think the only argument here is, why does it have to be that way? This isn't a card that they needed in my opinion, on regular East Coast time to bring the justified traffic.
Again, the UFC in 2023 made more than all other MMA and boxing promoters combined. They're spending 25, 30 million on this Sphere card, which, by the way, could be a gigantic hit. It could be a bust. We don't even know. It probably won't be a bust, but who's to say exactly what it will be? We don't know. You mean to tell me they can't forego a little bit to give the Manchester fans something that's more appropriate? Even delaying it a little bit, changing the time a little bit. I just find it. If you're Ricky Hatton and Showtime is trying to incentivize you, or you're taking money from Saudi Arabia that's life-changing and you want to fight at those times, that's fine. Here's my thought. In a world where they're making them fight at 6 a.m. and they're bonuses are still going to be $50K, it's maybe give them $100K if you're asking them to fight at 6 in the morning. That's kind of my only thought. Even if you don't change the behavior.
You have the potential to get diminishing results. And
just as a goodwill gesture, thank you for doing this kind of thing.
Right.
That's my thought. All right.
Well, Luke, as I was saying, in a world of slot reels and blackjack deals comes the must-play event of the summer from our partners over there at DraftKings Casino, Luke, featuring nonstop action and an all-star cast of games, including A-lister, Loki's Luck. This summer blockbuster is one that even you, Luke Thomas, won't want to miss.
You know what? New players can get, listen to this, $100 instantly in casino credits with just a $1 wager. And all players get a blockbuster bonus every week. So, BC, here's what they're going to do. They're going to sign up with the code COMBAT, that's combat with a K.
Oh, yeah.
And grab your popcorn, get your chicken tenders, fries,
your Funyuns,
your Twizzlers, and everything else, because it's showtime, I should say, on DraftKings Casino. Rest in peace, Showtime, actually.
There you go. There you go. DraftKings, the crown
is yours.
Luke, second topic time.
Okay. With that in mind, BC, let me pitch this one to you, if I may. So, let's talk about Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall needed literally 60 seconds, just 60 seconds, to demolish Curtis Blaydes. Of course, this was a rematch from 2022. He defended his interim title before a somewhat respectful call out of Jon Jones. My first question to you is this, BC. Has Aspinall effectively backed Jones into a corner, thanks to, of course, his quick ascension and timely call out of him, where anyone whispers of a post-Miocic retirement might become a big enough stain on his resume that it's not even worth attempting anymore?
I didn't think we could be here so quickly, but I think we're actually here. I think this actually may have worked out perfectly for Tom Aspinall, meaning that things went the way they did. Jon getting injured, which opened up the interim title opportunity, but which also kind of pushed down his standing as we are all going to sit here and wait a year for Jon Stipe to happen again. But Luke, the wait has allowed Aspinall to continue to do exactly what he just did in the rematch of his only loss in the UFC against Curtis Blaydes, which is come out here and be this real deal heavyweight 2.0, quick hands, quick feet, no flaws in the game. But even if they are, we're not going to find out because this guy doesn't go past the second round. Luke, I'm starting to believe here that because the call out, I wanted him to kind of shake the cage of Jon. Instead, he went with the polite route. In fact, let's listen to it first, and then I'll follow my point.
Hello, Jon. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight, so I'm coming for it.
Luke, no insults of Jon and his police history, but didn't need to. He's leaning on the competitive side of it. I'm here. I've arrived. I think I'm better than you. Let's do it. Now, if he makes that statement a year ago, I could still see Jon Jones going, yeah, dude, you're probably not even going to be anything. I don't need to hang around for you and risk it. But because Aspinall is staying busy and now he's got 3 first-round finishes since that knee injury and that loss to Blaydes, has the 100% finish rate, I think he is taking such a leap where we're not even opening with the question of, does this performance tell you that the real best heavyweight in the world is Tom Aspinall? We're all sort of just saying that, accepting it as fact, because we've seen Jon Jones for so little at heavyweight. But Luke, I think it's already at the point now where if Jon Jones beats Stipe in November and takes the mic at Madison Square Garden and says, I've had a great career, goodbye, they will boo him out of that building. And I actually think they would be rightfully so in doing it. I don't think this is a time where Jon Jones can do this and get away with it. Now, he may not even be thinking about it anymore. Did you see his tweet? He basically said, shout out to supply and demand, which does tell you to some degree of
what did that even mean?
I think it's more Jon saying, okay, now that the demand is here, now that everybody wants this, now that Tom did his part, and now they're just looking at me, well, I'm going to look back at you, UFC. Pay that man his money. Give me that Wilder money. Luke, that was going to be my follow-up question back to you on this, ultimately. Yes, I think Jon Jones is backed into a corner where he must take this fight now if he beats Stipe. But are you of that belief here that what Aspinall is doing, that he's just running through people, Luke, that if Jon does this, dude, this won't leave. This will be a thing forever if he walks away. Now, Jon's too good now. You can't walk away. You can't leave this man standing because I think Jon's heavyweight reign will just become an asterisk in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't take it, he's ducking. Let's just be very clear about it. If you don't take it, I mean, you could already argue he's ducking, but okay, the fight was on the books and they want to see it through, however stupid that might be. Okay, all right, they have a contractual relationship that they need to figure out. But after that, if he doesn't take it, and of course he doesn't have to, he's ducking. He's ducking.
So
flatly.
Does he deserve Deontay Wilder money to take this risk? Is this the fight now where you pay for what he's worth? And what he's worth, he's the greatest of all time.
Whatever my disagreements with Jon, he has always been right that he deserved Deontay Wilder money. Yeah. He sold more than Deontay Wilder ever sold. He absolutely deserves Deontay Wilder money. And I have no problem defending Jon asking for Deontay Wilder money. Now, Deontay Wilder money got a little bit crazy at times, but, the difference between them, even if you went halfway, would still be a great gesture for him and would be totally deserved for the level of accomplishment that he has in the general expanse of his career that he has experienced. So that's fine. I think the lesson from UFC 304 for me, BC, is that the division is moving on without him. Like, he is doing the Canelo bit, right?
Yes.
Listen, if Canelo retired today, he goes into the Hall of Fame. If Jon retired today, he's already in the Hall of Fame for the Gustafsson fight, but obviously he would go in. He's the greatest light heavyweight by a million miles, not even a question.
He's the greatest
arguably greatest fighter, but I'm saying at a bare minimum, he's the very best 205-pound fighter that's ever lived. No problem. Easy claim. But he's taking on a contender that has zero business fighting him, who makes a mockery of the title being on the line. Now, Stipe obviously has a great career and obviously had a much better career than Edgar Berlanga's had a career. In that sense, they're not the same. But he's been off for almost 4 years, and the last time he was out...
5? When
it's a long time, and he got viciously KO'd the last time that he competed. That's not a fight worthy of the UFC title. You're literally taking one fight against a guy who kind of shit the bed, but whatever. You got that fight, and then you're seeking out a 42-year-old semi-retired fireman. Yes, I know Stipe has had a great career, but that's who he is today, is a semi-retired fireman.
March of 21 was Stipe's last
right. So we're talking about nearly 4 years to the point where he hasn't won in what? He hasn't won in almost 5.
Yes.
That's a joke. That's a joke. That has no business taking place for a UFC title. That is such a ridiculous joke. Meanwhile, they can't find a ranked heavyweight to take Tom Aspinall past the fucking 2-minute mark.
This is
past the 2 fucking minute mark. He is a decade into his career and only this weekend surpassed the 40-minute mark in total fight time. He is blowing the doors off of the division. We should just say it outright. Whatever the difference is in terms of their titles on paper, John's title on paper is more significant because he is on paper the undisputed champion. Tom Aspinall is the UFC heavyweight champion.
because he's out here earning it.
Tom Aspinall is your UFC heavyweight champion, and their resumes at heavyweight are not even comparable.
I mean, he's going in there against Pavlovich when he's on that streak and knocking him out early before he gets a chance to set up. So, Luke, look, the narratives move quickly in this game. A lot of people have podcast hours to fill. We do that a lot too. But people are already starting to say, like, he's showing us that he's building the foundation to give you the greatest career of a heavyweight in history. Now, I mean, there's always going to be that problem. Are we talking about UFC history or are we talking about we're comparing to Fedor? But let's just say UFC history for a second. Obviously, he's not there because he hasn't accomplished it yet. But the speed and ease in which Tom Aspinall is slicing through the competition up to this point, like, is he building something that could lead him to being heavyweight 2.0 and maybe the greatest fighter this division has ever seen?
Well, here's the funny part about all of that. His offense is... it's nuclear powered, right? We talked about it, his foot speed, his hand speed, and his power. I mean, he dropped Blaydes with a jab.
Yeah, with a heavy-ass jab. Yeah.
The right hand didn't even land on him. And then his finishing flurries are, well, once that gets going, you know, the feeding frenzy is over.
Did Blaydes have an argument for it being stopped?
So what I would say about the stoppage itself, if I may, is that what the argument is what by the time Goddard intervened, right at the same time, you can actually see Blaydes building his base back up.
Sure.
But the thing is, Goddard let him have a chance. There was an amount of time he let expire where he wasn't doing anything, and Tom is pounding on him. It does qualify as non-intelligent defense, and it went on long enough for Goddard to have intervened. So was Blaydes completely knocked into unconsciousness? No. But Goddard, you know, we beat referees up all the time for bad calls. I don't think this is one of those. I think it's a justifiable stoppage based on the information and the situation that
fair.
Goddard had encountered. But I forgot the point we were on before.
The point we were on is Aspinall showing you
right
that where the hype lives up to it.
This is why the Jon Jones fight kind of needs to happen among any other number of reasons, like for title unification, for legacy, for the whole 9 yards. But the other one is this, dude, there is still a lot that is not known about Aspinall's game. And he cross steps, he leans back all the time. He makes bad decisions in the stand-up department defensively. He gets hit because he plays a little bit reckless. There's been 2 takedown attempts on him by people who weren't even really good at wrestling, and he stuffed both of them. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is any number of things. But one of the things that it is at its core is a highly intriguing fight just on style terms. Just on that, because how did Jon beat Cyril Gane? It was with the wrestling up against the fence and everything else. And of course, Gane shit the bed. I expect Tom to put up a much sturdier fight in that regard. But like, how does Tom's cardio look after 15 minutes? We have no fucking idea.
Just like we have no idea what Jon looks like at heavyweight after a minute.
There's so many questions for that reason alone.
Is this the biggest fight in the
fight.
sport right now? Because if your answer is yes, then I say, is this the fight that Turki Al-Ashik and Saudi should come in and give the same type of financial investment that they do for the really big boxing ones, for how much it seems Turkey wants to make Crawford Canelo right now more than anything. He's making everything we want in boxing. Is this the right fight so that Jon Jones can finally get his Wilder money? Because he does deserve it. This is a big test and big risk. If Ngannou's not walking through that door, and he's not, Tom is that next guy. I want to see Jon paid for it. Do you put this, Luke, in a stadium in Las Vegas, in a stadium in the UK, on Saudi soil because they have to pay for it? Is this fight big enough to be one of those cultural milestones in the history of our fandom?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it is. I mean, I don't know if you could do a soccer stadium. I don't quite know how that would work, but this is a premier. Like, when you think about the biggest fights that can be made in MMA, and certainly the biggest fights that can be made in the UFC, because the Francis Ngannou equation is an interesting one still too. But nevertheless, if we're just talking about the UFC, strictly that universe there, Conor coming back is obviously going to be big. I think Max and Volk is certainly going to have some level of acclaim. But Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall for the undisputed heavyweight title is easily, if not the biggest, top 3, and probably the biggest of importance, of relevance, of style contrast, and
I don't think we're having this
generational
exact
battles.
conversation if he doesn't walk through Blaydes in the manner he did, in the same manner he did Pavlovich. Like, he's just slicing right through these people.
I don't think Jon wants to fight either of those guys, either Blaydes or Pavlovich. I mean, he even said, remember when he quoted me saying it wasn't even worth it? Tom Aspinall beat Pavlovich and Blaydes in a combined 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Like, dude, this is the guy. This is the guy at heavyweight. This is the flag bearer. I don't give a fuck whether it says interim in front of his title or not. That's the guy. And either Jon Jones wants to do something about that because he thinks his title is more important, or he wants to duck.
He made that happen.
Those are the choices in front of him.
You know what? Tom made this happen quick. He escalated this conversation because of how quickly he continues to ratchet up his game and raise that potential.
Let me say this.
I think Jon has to answer the phone now, Luke. I think he does.
I think he does too. Let me say this. I had mentioned this point before where Jon had said something that I do think is true, which is he's seen so many guys be like, I'm coming for you, Jon, and then they get tripped up along the way. Phil Davis is the biggest one, where he thought he was going to fight Jon, had to fight Rumble, and then Rumble had another thing for him, and it completely derailed everything. And I think Jon has been waiting for history to play out that way again, except the exact opposite is happening. They keep putting guys in front of Tom Aspinall, and he keeps mowing them the fuck down. This is it. It is either fight Aspinall or duck and then live with the consequences of it. Those are the choices in front of him.
Well, Aspinall has an interesting idea for this fall in November. Let's hear that.
Here's a thought for you. I was thinking about this the other day. What about, so they're saying that Stipe and Jon Jones are going to fight in MSG in November. Why don't we do a tournament? We'll do Jon, Stipe, me, Alex, and do a 4-man tournament, 2 fights in one night, and let's find out who the real heavyweight champion of the world is. Like, we've got the best heavyweight of all time. We've got the best MMA fighter of all time. We've got the light heavyweight champion, and then we've got me, who's just a poxy interim champion. Do you know what I mean? Let's do that, 2 fights in one night. Put it to Dana. I'm sure Dana's going to be here in a minute. And he's been.
Dana didn't really like the idea of him moving up.
No, I don't. I am honestly the biggest fan of Alex Pereira. He is one scary guy. But would that not be a cool little thing? 2 fights in one night. Let's see how we get on. I mean, I've got the lowest average fight time in the UFC.
Luke, that's almost giving us gravy on top of our gravy right there. Is that a great idea, or do you not need to risk the Jones fight by doing something like that?
I mean, I would still favor Tom to win that one, just because I think Tom would run him down and try and take him down and sub him out like he did against Volkov. I think you'd get something similar in that way. But I just want to point this out. Like, dude, look at this fucking guy. Yes, would he have some advantages and be the favorite over a guy like Poatan, for as great as Poatan is? Tom would still have a lot of advantages. He's not necessarily calling out somebody who would be the favorite over him. But who is he not calling out?
I know.
That people want him to fight. Who is he avoiding? Nothing. Oh, that you want me to fight the big, scary Brazilian motherfucker? Sign me up. Jon Jones, where are you at? Sign me up. He'll fight. If they offered him a fight with Francis, do you think Tom Aspinall turns that down? Not in a million years. Does this guy, and everybody else has, well, I don't know. What about the time? What about the place? This guy is absolutely your huckleberry. It does not matter. I got to
agree with Dana, though.
Opponent or circumstances.
I got to agree with Dana, but it's with a caveat. If Jon Jones is not going away, and by the way, I think it does come down to money. I think it really just comes down to money. If they pay Jon Jones what he wants, as long as it's not crazy astronomical, I think the fight gets done. I think Jon deserves that. I want them to have that happen. But Luke, I don't think we need to do this. We don't need, if Jon Jones is around, we don't need Pereira to move up to heavyweight now. It seems to be you could put a dent in him, and it really could get in the way of that potential trilogy bout with Adesanya for the light heavyweight title. So I agree with that. But yeah, this Jon Jones Aspinall fight could be massive. The only thing I like about what Aspinall is saying with the doubleheader is this is old school promotion. What we really want is the Jones versus Aspinall. So let's put the two on the same card in fights that they could lose, but let's see what we got, and then we'll bang the drum. You don't need to do that here. But man, if I'm going to be greedy, Luke, yeah, I mean, imagine Poatan crashing that party. Imagine him, being like, sorry, Tom, this is and this is the end of my video game. Either way, I think both can keep. I think Tom, yeah, Jon Jones is going to be here. He's going to take it. Luke, Jon Jones is a competitor deep inside. You have to respect that in him. That's why I was shocked by this talk of retirement. But maybe it's more about first planning the disrespect to Aspinall. You're down here. I'm up here. I'm the real champion. You got to give a guy. You got to let the guy cock out and do that. All right, rock out with your cock out. But
dicks out for Harambe.
I think ultimately Jon's just like, pay me the respect for taking this risk, right?
Yeah.
Pay me it. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, fine. If his argument is you got to come up off your pockets to get me to do this,
let's go.
I don't have any issue with
Let's
that.
go.
Any A side deserves to do that. But I'm just going to say, if what's really been happening is he's been killing time and picking an opponent who is, I mean, as done in MMA as you possibly can be, short of an announced retirement. Also, he could avoid this fucking juggernaut from the UK. It's shameful. There's nothing shameful about his light heavyweight run, which was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
No, you don't have to read that again. That's right.
But this would be shameful.
This would be. I mean, it would be for Canelo too, but that's another story. Let's see where it goes. Topic number 3, Luke, and we could be getting Brian Ortega in here any second, so I'm excited about that.
We don't know.
What a weekend for Paddy Pimblett. What a fight. What a moment. Pimblett makes a huge statement in putting King Green to sleep for his 8th straight win overall, and Pimblett now 6-0 in the UFC, and then hold out Renato Moicano. So Luke Thomas, considering Pimblett is trying to push the UFC for tough coaching gigs across from Moicano, did this feel like the type of performance that could launch Paddy to not only superstardom, but true contention in this division? I'm not saying he's here after this, but is this the fight that could launch him there? Is this exactly what he freaking needed on Saturday?
I'll say this. I have been not a believer in him up to this point. We'll get to this in a minute. I still have many reservations. But this was a phenomenal performance by Paddy. He looked chiseled out of stone, which was incredible by itself.
No gyno either, from what I can see.
Nope, he was carved up. His back was ridiculous. So he was clearly in phenomenal condition. And he was smooth on the feet. I mean, he wasn't exactly like, showing you prime Giorgio Petrosian, but he looked smooth on the feet. And then the ability and the presence of mind to jump triangle off the guillotine was fantastic.
I mean not great work from King Green in that moment.
So I went back and I watched it. It wasn't great work, but I kind of understand what he was doing. He got leg kicked, and I took him off of his feet, and he just reached for the single instinctively, and then kind of I think was using it to build his base back up. But like tying up with Paddy like that obviously was a very, very bad idea ultimately. But that's a common thing that fighters sometimes do to rebuild, getting their height, to getting back to a better position. So like, yes, it was a big mistake, but people being like, oh, he went out there Randy Couture style to go take him down. No, that's not exactly what he was doing. That would have been really boneheaded. He didn't do that. So it was very suboptimal. We can clearly say that, but it wasn't the most, oh my God, egregious thing I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't matter though. Fighters who are great make you make mistakes. Fighters who are good can take advantage of them. You're asking, can he be great? I am still skeptical of that, but Paddy's fucking good.
This was
good.
The performance in the location, in the location on the card. Everything just was perfect.
He played to the crowd. He went out there with full confidence. And dude, not a lot of guys can jump guard very effectively in MMA. Charles Oliveira can do it. He does a little bit differently. To jump guillotine like this and to do it with really a triangle setup, ultimately, that's very impressive, dude. It's athletic. Presence of mind is quick. And obviously, he had exactly the setup that he needed to execute. This was the best I've ever seen, Paddy.
Oh, he raised his game to another level.
He certainly has earned the right to fight the Moicanos of the world now. I am still skeptical that he can really put together a true contendership run, but
this was the step that he needed.
But he earned this.
He didn't get in trouble. In fact, he was just as shocked as we were that old King Green went for that shot. Let's hear his reaction.
I know you challenged him to take the fight to the ground, but like, were you surprised that he shot in that soon?
Yeah, I was surprised he shot in at all. You know what I mean? He's had some brilliant stand-up fights with people. Like the Jim Miller fight. He stood with Jalen Turner. He's done 3 rounds with Fiziev and won the last round. People kept talking about that in the build-up to this. So yeah, I was surprised. But as I say, everyone underestimates me, lad. Just because I look like a 14-year-old girl. Know what I mean?
Luke, in the court of public opinion
that's a good
here,
bit. That's
it
a funny
is a good bit.
Did
he use this entire week?
He shined big time.
Do you think he won back the critics? Because look, that aerial thing, it started to like kind of label him as a villain to some degree. You're always going to be a villain when you're the flashy guy.
Also, he had the issue with the other Irish kid on the bus. Did you see that?
And he also, Luke, he'll do the jerk off notion. Look, he's still going to be a punk in a lot of ways, but it seems like a more wholesome, focused version of him, if that matters.
Nothing solves problems in MMA like winning. And nothing solves problems in MMA like dominant, exciting winning. And he did that in spades. I mean, dude, this was such a strong performance from him. It's the kind of thing where, like, this is where I'm at. Did I see someone in there who can win a UFC lightweight title? What's a tough division to win a lightweight a title in? That's just really, really difficult. But did I see a guy who is clearly still getting better, very athletic, again, chiseled out of stone?
You did see a guy who can sell out arenas in the main event.
Sell out arenas, is calm in front of an audience, and this is what I mean. Like, that wasn't a panicked guillotine, like, I see it, I'm just going to jump on it, and it's low percentage. It was smooth as shit the way he set that up.
Dude, he needed to go through hell in training camp mentally to be able to get through whatever he needed to come
these
back.
Guys hate, like these guys sometimes, fighters often seem to hate the negativity that comes with the sport, and it can beat them down and really negatively affect them. But it can also make them very, very resolute in getting to the next stage of their career. Belal Muhammad, up until the moment he got his hand raised, and even after he got his hand raised, the guy's still getting booed. But he knew, he was driven, and I think the negativity in part helped fuel him to that place. Paddy's a little bit more of a showman and is more liked, but I'm simply saying that he has his share of critics, and I think it fuels him.
Paddy could get me to watch Tough again. He could. This could be his vehicle
I don't give a
to
fuck.
rebrand.
No.
In fact, here's his thoughts on the Moicano opportunity, potentially.
Yeah, he's obviously ranked above me as well, but the fact that I think the build-up would be hilarious. I've already said it tonight. I think a season of The Ultimate Fighter and me and him as the coaches would be absolutely fucking comedy gold.
I don't think he's wrong, Luke. That's the right fighter at the right time to get him into the rankings deeper if he can win it. We don't know if he's going to win that. That's tough out. You know Moicano's going to go for it. He's kind of like the perfect foil. Let's do it. Let's book it. I'm in.
Well, Moicano has to beat BSD.
For sure.
And that's,
you can't, you probably can't do that if it gets demolished by BSD.
I mean, here's the part about BSD. Unless you get him out of there quickly, dude, you're going to come out of that fight fucked up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Long Island Luke, any update on the arrival of my favorite fighter?
We got a few people here, just not our favorite fighter yet.
All right. Hopefully we'll be dropping by soon. Luke, you want to transition to topic number 4?
Let's do it. Topic number 4, if we can, here on Morning Kombat on this July 29th. All right, BC. Let's get to question number 4. So this is kind of a big one and an interesting one and a very controversial one. A lot of opinions in different directions, but no one seems to be, well, it's not quite true, actually. Some people are very unhappy about it. All right, so Muhammad Mokaev. He improved to 13-0, 7-0 in the UFC, undefeated all the way around, and he defeated Manel Kopp, who, by the way, did have a broken toe, it appeared, maybe a couple of them, in a grudge match, which,
he
of
was
course...
tough as shit to put that back in and just keep fighting.
Yeah, I've dislocated a toe before. It was no fun. I've never broken it, but I dislocated one. It sucked. But the fight itself was not great. It was not a lot of fun. It got better as it went along, but it certainly started off...
It had some rabid moments I thought that were pretty cool.
It did, but like the first round was terrible.
Yeah.
It was just really, really not great. And then he is released afterwards by UFC CEO Dana White in the post-fight press conference. He alluded to in that post-fight press conference that the matchmakers were not a fan of Mokaev.
We have that audio, yeah.
So I want to set this up, and I want to pay attention to something. He doesn't just talk about the style in which Mokaev fights. He talks about some other issues as well. Let's hear it. That's you, Long Island Luke. Anytime, buddy.
Mokaev, please.
Sorry, guys, getting Brian set up. I missed whatever.
Oh, hey, all right.
Can you play the Mokaev clip from Dana?
Oh, yeah, of course. One second.
Yeah, why not? Brian Ortega coming in here. All right.
All right, let's just.
Did they try to give you a new contract before this fight?
They said they're gonna see how I perform. They don't want to see me keep shooting and taking somebody down, but I've done what I could do with like tonight. Yeah.
They said they didn't like you shooting in there. Is that what they said?
Yeah, they don't like this because they tried to get rid of flyweights before, and they don't want this kind of fight. But listen, I'm young. I'm still not in my prime. Like, if they want me to stand and bank with toe-to-toe with this, like, 30 years old grown man, I have to do what's best for me to win.
BC, here's a question for you. Was the UFC justified in cutting him?
I wanted my answer to be no, because this guy's got talent, and I wouldn't even throw any kind of boring thing at him. Look, he wins fights. You can see the skill there. The proof is in the pudding. But if the UFC was this adamant, what seems to mostly be not a contract situation issue, a character issue, Luke, it seems like you have to do a lot to get on the wrong side of the UFC where they'll actually step in and discipline. This screams to me that they have more than enough reasons. And Luke, we don't have the sound at this moment, but, you know, Mokaev was asked about that picture situation. Did he set up Mel Kopp by asking for a picture and brotherhood?
He admitted to sucker
he admitted
punching
to it, and he said, look, I'm no Alex Perez. I'm no, you know, he tried to basically say,
bully me.
I'm going to back it up. You guys don't know where I'm from. Luke, at every turn, there's trouble with this guy. So if it's more than just we'll bury you, which we thought, is this a conspiracy angle? Why is this fight continually getting buried? I don't think it really does come down to the fact that you actually could put him in a title shot. He looks that accomplished. He looks that ready to go. But Luke, if character is this bad, then more power to the company for establishing standards and sticking by them. I think ultimately he's going to need maturity. So they did make the right move, Luke, in that regard. I mean, do you want to hear Dana's thoughts, what he said?
Yeah, let's hear Dana.
Mokaev said that his contract is up, and he made this interesting remark that said someone at the UFC told him to stop shooting for these takedowns so much, and maybe he'll get this contract that he wants. Is that true, and what do you think he'll bring him back?
Yeah, that's what we tell guys. We tell guys how to fight and tell them we've been doing this for a long fucking time. I'm sure one of the matchmakers probably said something to him or whatever, but yeah, the matchmakers aren't big fans of his for many different reasons. And not just there's a lot of people who shoot takedowns in this business. You know, a lot of guys that fight with that type of style, but it's a lot more than just that.
But Mokaev is the guy that you'd want to bring back to the UFC because he said his contract is totally done now.
Yeah, he is. He's under contract. He's not under contract anymore.
Okay, but would you be interested in keeping him around in the fall?
I think the PFL is going to get a great undefeated guy.
Really?
That's cold.
Good luck to him.
One on this when you said the PFL is going to get an undefeated fighter. Is that his fighting style? Is that he's asking for too much money? Why?
None of the above. Listen, for whatever reason, listen, the stuff that played out here over the last several months, that started at the PI and other stories of this breaking out, plus many other things. These guys don't want to re-sign him.
Luke, he doesn't appear to give a fuck, Mokaev. So I think they actually made the right move here.
I'll say this. Mokaev admitting to sucker punching the guy is such a fucking weird move. Like, it's such a turnoff. Such a turnoff. Like, it's one thing to be like, I admit it, and then, I made a mistake, and I apologized to his team, and it was low, and I was angry and frustrated, and it got the best of me. That's not what he did. He was like, yeah, I did it, and I'm glad I did it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I got a couple thoughts about this. I'm not in any way suggesting that what Dana is saying about Mokaev being a problem is not true. But we don't know what the behind-the-scenes issues might be in terms of, like, maybe he does want more money, they don't want to give it to him, and maybe he does turn down fights, and they don't want them to do that. Maybe he's a complete pain in the ass, and they're right. I'm pointing out I can't take his word or the UFC's word without more information. So I put that to the side. I will say this. A lot of people are like, well, now, you got a guy who's undefeated. Why are you letting him go? I actually think this is going to be better for Mokaev. Mokaev he was right. He's 23 years old. You want us to stand and bang with these guys. I'm 23. Like, what the fuck do you want me to do? I mentioned this on Friday's show. I'm going to bring this up again one more time. Muhammad Mokaev, by the way, the nickname is the Punisher. That doesn't seem that fitting. Strikes landed per minute, 1.61. Dude, that's about half of what it is for an average ranked UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Right? These are anemic numbers, and I understand he's winning, and I get that. And maybe he could go pretty far with that. But I do think he's going to hit an absolute ceiling in this division when your basic method of winning is just control, right? Because the takedowns, what does he average? 5.29 per 15 minutes. That's a lot, right? He's averaging several takedowns per round. That's significant. But the point I'm trying to make is his game is clearly still in development.
Well, he
needs, my point is, let's dial back the competition.
Yes.
Can he beat them with control? Maybe.
Well, look, there's obvious maturity issues here.
He's got clear maturity issues.
He may need this more than anything just to humble him.
But I just mean on this game alone. People be like, well, he's winning. You're not going to find out who the best is. Okay, there's something to that. That's not an unfair accusation. But the thing that I want to point out is, if you're so lopsided in your game and you're just 23 and you're a good athlete, I actually do feel like dialing back the competition to get him the incremental striking development that he needs. And by the way, he did show some better striking here, but it's all on the outside. Like, he clearly is afraid of contact still. Let's get him that experience.
Look, like, he could not have done more to hurt his chances. It's not just that he didn't resign and that they had a standoff on seemingly on the price. I think that was probably part of it. But then when you're going to essentially act like a dirtbag, admit afterwards that you completely set up and manipulated this situation and did sort of a dirtbag move, but then you're so rabid at every turn at the weigh-in, you run out and try to fight him to start the fight. We actually had security guards holding back both fighters from fighting seconds before they were going to be allowed to fight, like you're holding back pit bulls. What's the worst thing you can do in that situation? Then go out and point, fight, and wrestle. Obviously, that's the worst case you should do. You just built up to everybody that this fight is going to be a war. Like, you just sold that, and then you did the opposite. I just think he lined up enough reasons one by one for them to basically say, not worth the risk, move on. And
I'm just pointing out, you can be mad if you want at the UFC for cutting him because you feel like you're trying to send a message about what kind of style that they prefer. Fine. If you want to make that argument, I won't really argue against it. The point I'm making is a little bit different, which is, however punitive you feel like the UFC was and potentially inappropriate in being punitive about cutting him, which is debatable by itself, but even if you believe that, I actually think it will be in the long term better for his development. Yeah. If he keeps escalating, BC,
then he'll be back.
But just think about it rationally. You're still working on the other parts of your game, but now you have to go up against the Pantojas of the world and the guys who are fucking terminators at the top of flyweight. You're going to win some rounds against them because of your control, but you're probably also going to get fucked up against one of those guys. It's going to hurt your development. I actually think long term, it'll be better for him. Maybe he comes back to the organization, maybe he doesn't. But long term, this will be better for his game, or at least there's a world in which we can take seriously the idea this is better for his game.
Yeah, but there's just no division for flyweight at PFL at the moment. So that just really made that
Someone said on Twitter,
double.
Someone said on Twitter, I forget who it was. They're like, can we make a switch for a trade? Mokaev for Patchy Mix? I was like, yes.
Hell yeah. We can go to footage, though, of Mokaev also a cheater in the cage, Luke. Here was the big scandal with holding the tights, and Mike Beltran got pissed off.
Better wrestler. Whoa.
He's telling him to.
Don't be grabbing the shorts. You understand?
Oh, look at that.
Do not grab the shorts. I'm going to take away your position. I'm not playing with you. You're going to stand right here. I'm talking to you. Don't put yourself in a position that I have to enforce the rules. You understand? I'm going to take away your position. That's your last warning. Fix your stuff, young man.
We got more than a handful.
Mike Beltran.
Look at that.
All that Hooters, right?
Oh my God. And it looked as though maybe if Manel.
Oh my God. Look at that. That's the point. That is the point.
Dude, breaking the rules in MMA is completely legal. There actually are no rules.
Yeah. You can get multiple warnings.
And I want to can I comment on this, because I saw people being like, "Well, he took the position away. That was Mike enforcing the rules." Listen, I like Mike Beltran. I actually do think he's a really good referee, and he did take away the position. Good, that's fine. I don't know if what Cop was doing was something called K-guard or not, but it looked to me either way he was trying to pass the leg over. So Mokaev is pulling on the shorts to tip his weight back the other way to keep the position. Dude, that is just as bad, if not worse, as double hand grabbing the fence to avoid a takedown. Take a point.
It looked like Ric Flair rolling up Dusty at the Mid-South Coliseum there and grabbing a handful of tights. Hey, Luke, our guest is ready.
All right, why don't you go first?
Hey, let's do it. Let's welcome him in. Luke, I mean, it's not often that you can get the most exciting fighter in the world to show up on your show. But Brian Ortega is here, and he's going to appear soon, September 14th, on pay-per-view, Las Vegas in the Sphere, what Dana White is calling the biggest and most exciting and craziest pay-per-view in combat sports history against Diego Lopes. Let's bring him in, the former title contender who came oh so close to squeezing the life out of Alexander Volkanovski. Long Island Luke, do we have Brian Ortega?
There he is.
Oh, yeah. Look at this gentleman right here.
There he is.
T-City
What's up, guys?
in the house. Brian Ortega, it's a rocky road at times, or it has been in your career. Layoffs, injuries. We saw you fall out of this fight with Diego Lopes, but then get the sphere. It's kind of par for the course in the Brian Ortega experience. Maybe have a little setback, but this bright thing coming right around the corner. You got to be fired up for September 14th.
Oh yeah, man. It's something that, you know, if obviously for UFC 303 we didn't make it, man. And it sucked. It was something that kind of dawned on me for a while, actually. And then we got a phone call and we had the opportunity and the ability to fix it and make it right. And that's what we're doing, especially on a bigger venue than, not a bigger venue, but a more exciting venue with everything new with the sphere, you know? It's pretty dope.
Do you have any reservations, Brian? We talked about this earlier in the show today. We have no idea for the fighter what the sphere is going to mean, is it going to be distracting? Is it going to be awesome? What are your expectations from a fighter in agreeing to fight a very difficult fight here against a fighter I'm sure you respect, who brings action, knowing that you're in the middle of a stadium, the video screen is, this is a crazy atmosphere in there. It's wild.
It's so we did some filming, right? I went to Vegas and we did some filming for it, and they put some VR goggles on us and we were able to see what the arena would look like on the inside. And bro, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I can't say too much, because I'm not allowed to. But yeah, it's gonna be something where I for sure have to stay locked in and tuned. Like I have to stay focused, man. Because if you start paying attention at what's gonna go on when the fight happens, I'll for sure be distracted, and I probably will. But probably it's gonna be for a good cause, anyways. Once I get punched in the face, I'm gonna come back to reality, anyways.
Brian, good to talk to you. Good to see you. Glad to see you're feeling better. I know you released a statement about what happened with the Diego Lopes fight, but you had mentioned that you had a fever and you thought it was from the weight cut, and you had been feeling bad that whole fight week. Looking back on it now, was it just the weight cut? Were you sick on top of the weight cut? What exactly went wrong the week of UFC? Was it 303? I can't remember anymore.
303.
Yeah.
It was both, man. That's what I was trying to figure out. I was confused because walking into the fight week, yeah, I felt, I don't know, if I could kind of really put it in there, I was on autopilot, basically. I was in there and I don't remember much, if I'm being honest. And something felt off, but I thought it was the lack of food and the weight cut that I was going through, because I went from 178 to 160 in a matter of a week and a half. So I went through 18 pounds pretty quick, and then cutting the weight. The rest of it was something that we faced after. And yeah, my body gave out at 151, but I still had some sweat in, but I don't know. It was just hard. We stayed up till maybe 4:30 in the morning trying to cut the rest of it. Couldn't, man, we had to pull the plug on it. We agreed to fight 155, which I kind of drank some water and some electrolytes to kind of just feel better. And then come fight day, dude. Oh, actually, no, that night after I ate food and everything, I was good. I felt the normal feelings of what a fight is, right? You go in there, training camp, cut weight, you come back, you eat food, you rehydrate again, and then you start coming back to life. And I never got that feeling. I didn't come back to life. I figured maybe just the weight cut was too drastic from, 178 to 155 or attempted 45. And yeah, it just didn't go in my favor. So I figured that I would feel good the day of the fight, but I didn't. All night I was in cold sweats. I was sweating. I took my clothes off. I was basically just in the hotel, full AC cranking. And I don't know why, but I couldn't stop sweating. I didn't put 2 and 2 together that it was a fever. I don't know. I was just confused what was going on. And then, yeah, we took the temperature, everything, and then had a fever, got in some cold water to try to just bring it back down. We brought it back down a little bit, but it was probably 5, 6 in the morning. And then I had to fight that day, so I fell back asleep. I think I woke up maybe around 1:30. Tried to eat some food, wasn't hungry. I was just out of it. I don't know how to say it other than just out of it. And I called my manager. I said, hey man, I don't feel too good. So we drank some coffee. We had a B12 shot for energy. Tried forcing some food down. And bro, with the nitro cold brew, a B12 shot, and some food, I still felt the same. And that's kind of when I realized something's wrong. This is not a normal feeling that you get on fight day. I tried to walk around the room a little bit, and it just wasn't it. I told my manager, then I called him. I said, hey, dude, like, I'm not trying to be a you-know-what, but if I step in there tonight, I'm going to lose. I don't feel good. I don't feel right. My everything just got sucked out of me. I called the UFC. We had a conversation. I said, listen, man, I'm just telling you guys where I'm at and what I'm thinking, but I'll go in there and I'll give it a shot. And I'm at the point where I'll just probably put my back against the cage and just let them tee off on me, and we'll just get down like that, because I don't really have it in me to go and have a war. Not right now. And surprisingly enough, they agreed with me, and they said, let's see what we can make happen. And that's when they called and they made the Danique fight happen with Diego Lopes. But yeah, it was an intense 2 weeks.
Sounds terrible. So let me just ask this. Obviously, you've never had issues like this before. Does this in any way change how you might cut weight for 306, or still going to do exactly what you did before, but now that since you have more time, it won't be the same kind of issue?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't even realize myself, was I was bulking to 155, so I don't usually walk around that heavy. I stay within, 168 to 170. That's a comfortable weight for me. I was bulking to get 155, so my goal was to hit 180, 185 and be solid. I got to 178, I was close to 80. So when I got that phone call, it was a shock, because I'm like, here I am. I do feel good. I am in shape. I am ready, but I am heavy. And the last time I took a short notice fight, and I wasn't that heavy, but I was still pretty heavy, was when I fought Frankie Edgar on 2 weeks. So I figured, okay, it's possible, it's doable. I've been here before. But yeah, man, I think those two factors played into it, to having 2 weeks and cutting a lot of weight. But now that I have time, it should be good. We should be all right. And right now, as we speak, I'm exactly at 170. I'm in shape. I'm ready. We're on the wrestling match right now. Mm-hmm. And after this, we're gonna get to work.
Brian, when we're talking about the stakes in this fight, September 14th inside the Sphere, and Diego Lopes, you've been a perennial contender, 2-time title challenger. You always seem to be one win away from a title shot. Is it as simple as that in terms of what you're looking at, what's at stake for you against this opponent this date, UFC 306?
I'm not too sure, man. If I'm being honest, I don't know how this one's gonna play out. I know Diego has a lot of hype behind him. I know he's got a good amount of support, so that's good on selling the fight and everything. But if you're talking about me beating someone who gives me a fight, I think me beating him would just say I beat a contender who people thought might be in the potential conversation to fight for the title. But who knows, man? The rankings and the way the UFC is, sometimes it's kind of funny. So I just don't know, man. Because I said, like I said in previous interviews, even leading up to the fight on UFC 303, you have Volk and Max both guaranteed a title fight. So that I'm kind of in line, and I'm in a weird situation, which is why I was talking about moving up to 155 and having some fun up there while the dust settles at featherweight.
Speaking of that dust settling, two guys that you fought for world titles, or sorry, not in that matchup. One of them would be Max Holloway if he gets the next shot at Ilia Topuria atop this division. Could be one of the biggest fights to make in this sport. How do you see that fight playing out? Topuria coming through the breakthrough knockout of Alexander Volkanovski. He seems to be the right guy at the right moment, the right country behind him, but Max has not gone away.
That's going to be an interesting fight. I think I was talking to someone about it yesterday. I forgot who, but I was talking about how fundamentally skilled and sharp in wrestling and jiu-jitsu and in boxing Topuria is. You know, sometimes when someone wins with a knockout, you know, you're quick to write it off and say, oh, well, you know, Volk got knocked out by Islam or whatever that happened and he wasn't ready. And that could be the case. But I also do believe that Topuria does possess a handful of skills that I think are yet to be tested. Max, on the other hand, is someone that hasn't been put away at all in his entire career. So this is a great fight. This, if anything, I'm as a fan of the sport, I can't wait to see that fight because obviously, one, I fought Max, and two, I want to fight Topuria if he's still the channel, or if he's still the belt holder, or you know, even in the future. But it's good for guys like me to go in there and see them and kind of collect data on what they bring to the table, other than, you know, that amazing performance that he had against Volkanovski.
Speaking of performances against Volkanovski, I wonder this as a fan of yours, Brian, because you've got to be a competitor to succeed at the level that you are. So when you look back against Volkanovski at how close you came to tipping the entire division upside down and submitting a guy who was, you know, universally the best in the world at that moment, does the competitor in you celebrate that performance and how close you were, or does it eat at you that, you know, one more second, one more something, you could have come away on top that night?
No, it eats away at me, man. It's something that I've had to learn to make peace with. If anything, every time I see a fan or something, they're like, dude, you were so close. And I'm like, thanks. Like, thanks, fucker.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I don't want to cuss, but it's like, damn, bro, why rub it in my face, man?
Did you hear him gurgling when you did it?
Man. Yeah, bro. He was gurgling, he was squealing, and this is something that, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was on top and I was celebrating. I was literally like, I'm about to be a world champ. In my head, I was kind of saying that. So then when he got out, I was like, fun. And then I put him in a triangle, and I was like, nope, T-City by T-City. And I'm looking up at the Jumbotron as I have this triangle, and I'm like, no way. Like, picture like a dream come true. Like, the guillotine wasn't meant to happen. T-City is going to win by a triangle and become a world champion. And then he just flopped back and my legs uncrossed. And I was like, bro, it's not your night. I was like, your mom must be in the arena right now because you're losing. And she was.
Let's talk. Let's talk about your opponent, Diego Lopes. So, just stylistically, one thing that the fans, I often hear them say is, "Oh, they both got great jiu-jitsu," which is true, but you got different jiu-jitsu than him. How would you say your jiu-jitsu is distinct from his?
I would say that my jiu-jitsu is more distinct, or it's distinct from his. I'm not a competitive grappler, as in terms of I'm not trying to go for certain situations that are not ideal for getting hit in the face, right? I don't roll over or try, you know, these certain types of knee bars or stuff like that put you in potential danger. What I like to do is more Gracie style fundamentals, old school to the roots, where it's like, hey man, you got to punch my face and I got to go in here and we're gonna fight. And it's more of a self-defense type of jiu-jitsu that I've adopted and just brought it to a different level with guys who are trying to punch you, and they're actually more skilled at it than just someone in the street. So through time, I've had the ability to perfect all of this and just sharpen it up. You know, I'm more of, I would say, more of a sniper and a more methodical guy when I'm in there and fighting. versus just kind of shoot submissions and impose jiu-jitsu will on you during the fight and kind of just ignore the punches per se. And I think that's where we probably differentiate.
In watching tape on him, like, for example, he blew right through Sadiq Youssef when they were in the clinch. And then obviously you can look at the Dan Ige fight, but that was on like a few hours notice. I mean, it's just really hard to know what to make of that. In watching tape on him, like, describe him to me. What do you see about Diego Lopes as a competitor that you observe as important to be ready for?
He's dangerous, obviously, in the first round. He's very explosive. If you've noticed, the success he's had, the majority of the success he had in the UFC is through beating these guys in the first round. He's very explosive. He loves the crashes, loves when two people collide, and he likes this dirty boxing style, right? Where he likes to clinch, uppercuts, hooks. He likes to be in the pocket and just swing away, and that's something that, as a fighter, you pay close attention to. And obviously, he's a black belt, man. On the ground, he's hunting for submissions the entire time. The second you put his back on the ground, or before you even put his back on the ground, he's hunting for your neck, your arm. He's looking for ways to finish you on the ground and on the feet, right? He's trying to knock you out.
Can't wait for that fight.
Sick.
UFC 306 Inside the Sphere, September 14th on pay-per-view. I got one more for you on the way out here, T-City.
I have one more then.
Oh, then we got two more for you. I want to talk about the mindset. What I love about your career and watching you fight is that you wear your emotions on your sleeve. You're always very honest about your walk and your journey, but you're also one of the mentally toughest fighters I've seen in your ability to zoom in and have that focus. When you're talking about eagles and shit, man, I'm getting like I'm ready to jump through glass windows, okay?
Yeah.
But life offers some challenges. Do you fight better when life is chaotic? Do you fight better when life is as in harmony as possible? How much does that affect the performances we see out of you inside the cage?
If I'm being honest with you, bro, like I said, I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I'm gonna just shoot it straight. I've never had peace in my career, not till recently. My career has always been chaotic. My life has always been crazy. I've always had things outside. My personal life has been just, a shit show. That's all due to me. My decisions, the things I like to do, that I used to like to do, or whatever, and the choices I decided to make. Brought a lot of just badness. So I had to deal with a bunch of negativity and darkness. And that's what I used for fuel, right? Some things I had no control of, some things I did. But recently in my life, I found, like you said, I found peace, I found joy, I found tranquility. I like it. I like it a lot I like it a lot better, actually, than what I used to be doing. So, it was the first fight where I've had that. And that was the first experience I've had. And Diego's going to be the second. So I don't know. I don't know. And to me, it's just a question mark, and it's a we'll see. But regardless of the outcome, I'm choosing this type of lifestyle every day, man. Like
yes.
I love, as a man, I love peace and joy, and I'm going to take it.
All right, last one from me, Brian. I really appreciate your time, which is, of course, you're going to be competing at UFC 306 at the Sphere. It's a UFC Noche event, or Noche UFC, I should say. And then, of course, right across the way, down the road, basically, is going to be Canelo Alvarez taking on Edgar Berlanga, another sort of celebration of Mexican fight fans, of Mexican Independence Day. I wonder, do you think that the UFC show at the Sphere, for how unique it is it going to upstage Canelo, or is it one of those situations where both of it is celebrating Mexican fight fans and Mexican culture? A rising tide lifts all boats.
Man, you're making me go against the UFC right now, bro. What are you doing to me, bro?
I'm just asking. I actually feel like the UFC Sphere show could really upstage him, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I think obviously, like, I don't know, man. That's hard, bro. Because right now, when you look at like Mexican fighters and what they're doing in boxing, I don't think you can really beat Canelo. Not in that aspect of it. Not in the way he sells and the way he represents Mexico and how he carries it. If we're speaking only specifically towards what Mexico is, dude, Canelo's born and raised in Mexico, from Mexico, and has made it happen. That's something that Mexican fans don't understand. But then you got this fear, dude, and then you have, just everything that Dana White's put into it, and the card, the people that are in it. It's amazing. So I have no idea, but I'm Team Canelo on this one. Although I'm fighting on this fear. Bro. I just shoot it straight. I think that boxing has been a big part of Mexican culture, and although MMA is catching up, they're not there. We're not there yet, but we're in the conversations. See, just as like right now, we're in the conversations. But if you go to Mexico right now and talk to any Mexican, they'll tell you, Canelo. We don't care about UFC right now. Not if we have to choose.
Are those your kids in the background? Like they're playing John Wick back there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. Are they fighting still? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're fighting back there, bro.
Caleb, Joshua, you guys did an interview and then you guys were fighting the whole time, and now you got me in trouble.
This is awesome.
Oh, look at
yes!
the front row! Yeah!
They liked it.
Oh,
Say hi.
that's great.
What's up, fellas?
What's up? Yes.
Yeah, look at this.
Guys, what's it like to have the coolest dad in the world, I mean, come on.
Pretty great, right?
Well, I can't see you guys.
I gotta fight him.
Oh, great.
We're not gonna fight your dad, trust me. That would go bad for us.
Oh, wow. So great to meet the Ortega boys. Brian Ortega, thank you for your time. We can't wait to see you at 306, and you got another big moment left in you. I know this in you, okay? You're not done. You haven't yet finished spoking in the history of this featherweight division.
No, not yet, man. I've like I said, it ain't over till it's over. And having my mind and my body and my spirit and everything kind of in a good place for the first time in my life, I'm excited to see what I can accomplish this time. I've been in there when my mind and body weren't right. I've been in there when my body but my mind wasn't right. And this is the first time when everything is actually right. Everything's moving smooth, no hiccups, no injuries, no drama, no outside noise, no distractions, no craziness, no turbulence. It's just me now. The only person that I actually have to go to war with and push and just keep moving forward is myself. And it's been fun, dude. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I wish I figured this out when I was younger. Because
you earned this. Enjoy it. You earned it. Okay. We can't wait to see you September 14th. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. Best of luck.
Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you guys, man.
Can't wait to see
it. City rising.
September 14th is going to be such
awesome.
a great day.
It's going to be awesome. He seems like he's doing great, man. I mean, I want to ask him about having the greatest.
Kind of cut him off there when he was making a good point, which was a little weird. But in general, I think that was a good
I tend to cut people off in the show, and I'm working on it. Okay, you, Chuck Mindenhall. You know what I mean? just the guests. I mean.
But in general, that was a good interview. What'd you think there, Long Island Luke? We haven't brought you in yet.
I thought that was great, man.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask him about every woman he ever dated, Luke, but he's doing so well in this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little inappropriate.
That's really inappropriate. His kids are there, but
the part with his kids was good. That was
what a gentleman.
You see them John Wicking each other back there?
Yeah, dude, they're going to be good.
Beating the fuck out of each other.
Indeed. Fun guest. Good luck to him. That fight is going to be very fun. Luke,
hey, got some. Oh, here you go. Breaking news. Can we get the alert there?
Oh boy.
This is a fun little announcement. Here we go. Breaking news on Morning Kombat on July 29th. According to his manager, and they posted it on social media, at UFC 307, which will be October 5th, Kevin Holland is back, and he's going to be taking on, ready for this? Chris Curtis. Curtis versus Kevin Holland.
Sean Strickland was never my friend. Yes.
UFC 307. Yeah, they had a breakup, I guess.
They did. I got to use the restroom. It might be the perfect time to do it, Luke. So maybe you can
all right, go
set
do
up point number 5, and I'll just take a whiz. Right?
Yeah,
Nobody beats it.
I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do while we're waiting for BC to empty his bladder like a fucking 82-year-old grandmother. Fucking got the bladder of Joe Biden back there. I mean, what are we doing? Hey, Long Island Luke, how did you do on your betting for UFC 304 over the weekend?
Not great, I got to be honest. I did good on the prelims, but main card, only one I hit was Tom Aspinall by KO.
What did you whiff on?
I had Leon by decision.
Okay.
I had the over 1.5 in Patty Bobby Green.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I hit the first 2 fights. I had the over 1.5 in Allen and Giga, and I had the over half a round in RoboCop CLD.
That fight was actually, no one's talking about it. That fight was actually pretty good.
Dude, and I said before it started, I said RoboCop's a live dog. I didn't bet on him, but he did cash.
Also, it turns out, I paid for the pay-per-view. I don't know if you're a pirating piece of shit, but dude, the production errors on that broadcast were absolutely insane. Were they not?
I'm really glad you brought this up. So I have a Fight Pass account that is through a previous job. You know, I can get any fight on it for free, essentially. Those broadcast errors were not on the Fight Pass feed. They were only on the ESPN Plus feed. So anyone outside of the U.S. did not see those.
Okay.
Roethlisberger.
So then Dana White had said in the post-fight press conference that it was not their fault. It was ESPN's fault, and I am very inclined to believe him. Can I tell you a story about this very quickly, if I may?
Go for it.
So I made a video on my YouTube channel about how bad ESPN Plus is, and I noted consumer surveys, and I noted industry results and everything. And ESPN got wind of it, and I had made a point that I'm arguing these points as a customer. I'm not arguing them as a media member because no one's going to care if I'm a media member. But I pay for the pay-per-views. I should be taken seriously as a customer. So they saw that, and then what they did was they granted me, they gave me like a super deep customer service rep, like not an ordinary one, but like a really specific one. And just walk in front of the camera like an asshole, you fucking moron. And they gave me 2 pay-per-views for free. They gave me 301 and 302 because they gave me 302 and 303, excuse me, because 300 was fucked up and 301 was super fucked up. So they gave me 302 and 303 for free. This was the first one that I bought under the new, without their help. And it worked in the sense of like I didn't have the same tech issues, which was great.
When you shake your leg, my microphone rattles. I don't want to make a noise.
All right, you can live. No, I'm teasing. I'll stop. But the point I'm trying to make is I was like, wow, all right, they finally got their shit together. And then sure enough, during the broadcast, Ben Roethlisberger's third down conversions were a problem. How about the guy going, oh, channel 1, check, check. Channel 2, check. I was like, holy fucking shit. What a disaster. ESPN.
Dana blamed it on ESPN, rightfully so.
I got to say this, dude. ESPN like 15 years ago was like untouchable in their quality and then their prestige. And obviously it still is prestigious to be there, to like they still do great work.
My friend Brett works there.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like I know you want to fuck them on air. Like it's amazing.
That's just
you guys want to mouth bang each other all the time. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
But no, am I being serious for just a second, BC? They've fallen off a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. They've fallen off. Right.
I'm with you on that. Okay.
All right. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, all right, they finally fixed their shit.
Are we expecting a second guest today too?
I mean,
we are.
Soon, or can I get into point number 5 here?
Get into point number 5.
I think we need to start it.
All right, let's get into point number 5. Hey, Terence Crawford is back. Whether or not he has retained that pound for pound number 1 slot on your list from his takedown of Errol Spence 1 year ago, it's taken that long for a 2 undisputed division world champion to make his return when he moves up to 154 pounds Saturday to challenge Israel Madrimov for his world title in the main event of Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyad Sison's first fight on U.S. soil that will be in Los Angeles. A pretty loaded card from top to bottom. But, Luke, this offers us a chance and opportunity to get a close-up back at Bud, one of the best in the history of the sport. And he proved that against Spence. Is he currently your number 1 pound for pound? I mean, it's very competitive at the top.
Probably Usyk, based on what he did.
In a way, and all that, but he would be under any other circumstances and could be. So Luke Thomas, he had a fantastic sit-down on All the Smoke fight with Andre Ward, which was Ward's sort of debut piece of content since joining forces alongside of us and the patriarch Brian Daly there and the crew from All the Smoke. And we got to hear a lot of stuff about the businessman in Bud, and we got to set the stage for this fight and what could be next, which certainly involves all things Canelo Alvarez. So, Luke, while I'm certainly here to talk about him moving up in weight and fighting Madrimov, it feels like the Canelo fight is suddenly back in rotation in the discussion this week. It certainly does. So, well, can we throw to the quotes from Turki Al-Sheikh here? This is a quote with Mike Coppinger of ESPN. I will give Canelo what I think is a fair price, talking about the biggest fight that he wants to make, that he thinks is the biggest in the sport. If he accepts it, he deals directly with me to finish the deal. I don't want anyone in the middle. I guaranteed Crawford a big fight. I want Canelo for Crawford, and Crawford wants Canelo. If Canelo is crazy with his financial demands, I will still guarantee Crawford any fight he wants. Luke, how much do you think? Look, it's one conversation what's going on with Canelo at 168 in my mind and not fighting David Benavidez. But if Crawford moves up in weight and takes off Madrigal on Saturday, adds another title in another division, he's going to be 37, right? So it's time to make the biggest fights possible. Is this about Canelo not wanting to fight a smaller man and lose if he ends up turning down this offer? Or in your eyes, is it more about, if you want it this bad, Turkey, meet me at my number, whatever that number is?
Yeah, I don't think Canelo wants this fight at all. And I don't think it matters how much Turkey reasonably offers him. I know what Canelo has said, which is $200 million. I don't think that
was for Benavidez.
Okay, but he probably would offer a similar number, 150 maybe or something.
All right, Canelo gets a guarantee in the last few big fights of around 35, 40 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think gets that fight done? Because this is the time to do it. Turkey has the means, so this is the time to do it.
I don't think there is a number that gets that done. I think people are having a hard time understanding where Canelo is at. Again, if he retired today, he would go into the UFC, or what am I saying? He retired today, he would go into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, pardon me, and deservedly. I mean,
be in the conversation with Chavez for greatest
absolutely. It's been a joy to cover his career, and the Berlanga fight will not be a bad fight in the sense of entertainment. There is certainly going to be, I think Canelo's probably going to look pretty good doing it.
Sure.
But something happened to Canelo after fighting Bivol, and I think there is a degree of, if not lost confidence, a recognition about where he's at and what kind of fights he has to have in order to perform ably and look good. Because, by the way, he did look good against Jaime Munguia. He did look good against Charlo, and certainly the John Ryder one was...
When he says I'll get no credit for fighting a fighter that small, you think it's more, why take the risk of what this will do to me if I lose to that guy?
I would say this. Listen, if Crawford, who has been off for a year since demolishing Errol Spence, if in fact he looks suspect against a guy at 154 pounds who is a physical tank, Madrimov is a physical tank, but if you watch the tape, he is just not even close to the technician that Bud Crawford is.
Big amateur background, though.
Yeah, but no, he is simply not the technician that Bud Crawford is. He is not even close. And so, for that reason, if Bud looks his age, and the weight really diminishes his pop and really makes him look like, wow, okay, this is beatable. Remember, he'd have to go to 60 and potentially 68 in order to secure a fight with Canelo. Maybe under that circumstance, something could be done. But I have a feeling that Bud is going to look really fucking good on Saturday. I don't know if he stops him or not, but I think he's going to look really, really awesome. And I'm just trying to be clear. I don't believe Canelo really wants to take on anybody at this point who is in any kind of way a genuine threat. Ryder, not a genuine threat. Charlo, not a genuine threat. Munguia, not a genuine threat. And Berlanga, certainly not a genuine threat. This is where we are, and I think you're having a hard time accepting that from somebody whose career up to this point has been superb beyond words.
I can't accept that he would try to duck both or avoid both or not take fights with both. But then again, he just took the Munguia fight. Now we're going to do Berlanga. So it's like he's like slapping in the face. But look, if I can come to terms, I guess, on him avoiding Benavidez and hoping maybe that fight comes back around for stupid money. But I think the competitor in him would take the Crawford fight, but it just needs Turkey to fill in that gap for whatever that price is. Maybe that price is $100 million. If we know that originally Anthony Joshua, when he fought Andy Ruiz in the rematch in Saudi, which was like was the first big boxing match there, he got 75 or 80 million. That was his like flat fee. If you can give Canelo $100 million for a fight that big, if you can do that, he'll fight Crawford.
If Crawford is a real threat, if Canelo genuinely perceives him to be a real threat, there is not an amount of money that will make a difference.
All right, well, let's listen
to...
hold
on a second. He's going to get a $35 million guarantee to fight a guy he's going to wipe the floor with.
Yeah, but
why
look,
would
this
you take
looks
a
too
big...
bad to miss both of these fights. These are the two of the three biggest fights you can make in the entire sport. Him and Benavidez and him and Crawford.
Dude, how many of the... By the way, people are like, well, why didn't Benavidez activate his mandatory status? Because he didn't want to do it on the mandatory contract. He wanted to do it independent of that so he could get more money. But putting that aside, dude, how many big fights in a row does Canelo need to skip post-Bivol for you to recognize we're in a different place now?
All right. Well, here's Terence Crawford sitting down with Andre Ward of All the Smoke Fight. You can catch this on the All the Smoke Boxing YouTube channels. Check out the social media channels for all these. Big following here, Luke. We're happy to be a part of it. And this was a very interesting sit down. Here's Terence Crawford talking about the Turkey and Saudi effect and really why he's getting it right where other promoters got it wrong.
All the promoters say, oh, well, Terence Crawford can't sell. Terence Crawford is bad for business. Terence Crawford this, Terence Crawford that. Oh, so much negativity. But when you look at my numbers compared to they fighters that they trying to push, it's night and day.
Yeah.
He's seen that with his own 2
He
eyes.
did.
Yeah.
Turkey.
He seen that and he just was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it with him.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, since y'all always got something negative to say about him, I'm gonna take a fighter from y'all promotional company. Take a fighter from y'all promotional company. Put them on the undercard
Yeah.
of him.
He doing that.
And y'all can't do nothing about it. So now who's in charge?
Yeah.
He just bringing boxing and the excitement back to boxing the way it should be, where all the promoters should be working together instead of trying to compete with each other. And I think that's what he's doing right now, is mixing the game up.
Man, I think you're right, bro. And you know how it is. Like everybody got beef and funk until the money comes into play. If it's big enough money, all of a sudden y'all not enemies no more. And y'all seeing that with Turkey right now coming over.
Yeah, this was very unconvincing to me.
In what way?
So it is true that Turkey is putting money in there and making people work together in a way that they hadn't before, and the card is constructed in the way in which Bud discussed. That part I think I agree with. But like, oh, there's so much negativity around Bud. Bud is notoriously famous for not wanting to do media, even pre-Spence. You know, I've certainly had some conversations with people who have had promoted fights with him before, and they tell me he is uniquely difficult to work with in ways that even other difficult people are not easy to work with. He is an enormous mega talent, and I'm glad he's getting paid, but it didn't happen because people just decided they didn't like Terence Crawford.
Well, I think he's talking about his issues with
part of the reason he had difficulty promoting with other people is because he brought some of that on himself. Turkey is willing to look past that and make the money, make it like it's no big deal. But there's a real lack of self-awareness about what problems he's contributed.
I'll agree with that.
To the equation.
The larger discussion that they seem to be having was Crawford's idea that the reality is all these power players in boxing don't hate each other and actually are willing to work together. And it takes someone like Turkey showing up with the money, and suddenly everybody's like, where do I sign up?
That is true.
So he's basically saying, look, the one thing I did like, and this plays into that about this interview, and maybe what can allow somebody like Andre Ward, who's going to get that level of respect from Crawford, to have deep talks like this about power and leverage and all of that, is they look at it almost like the fighters are being deceived by the system, by all this talk of other side of the street, when in reality, that's only a thing if you believe it's a thing. And they're trying to say that this money, and it could be Turkey, it could be anybody, but Turkey is the guy with the money, is the great equalizer, because it's showing that everyone really, I don't know if I really believe that all these guys are friends, but I get what he's saying. It's the same kind of idea, Luke, if I think that people get so exhausted in the political debates in this country and play the home team so aggressively against one another, when you can argue in reality that everybody's on the same team in the same way. I don't know if that's true, but what I liked about this specific sit down was how much we got to see the chess player of Bud, because we saw his business acumen come out in this interview. We saw the power that he believes the fighters already have but don't execute. And it kind of made me look back, because he did give his flowers to Floyd, for as critical as we were at times of Floyd's matchmaking and the selective nature of it, and we should have been, I think, when you do look back, Floyd brought in a lot of change in the business game. We blame him for creating boxing businessmen who weren't as good as him, who were trying to position themselves and not challenge themselves maybe too much, because what he did come in and bring, him and Al Heyman, was eliminate the middleman and show the fighter how much you really are worth. What I loved about this conversation was Bud's basically saying, to this day, these fighters still don't know what they are worth, and if they stood out more, if they were willing to use their leverage.
Yes, my only problem with Bud's assessment here is that he consistently paints a world where he can't fail, he can only be failed. People have only failed him up to this point. He's played no role in that, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm a curmudgeon. And I know that. I've earned that reputation by the things that I've done. He thinks he gets labeled as a curmudgeon, and it's invented out of thin air by people who have vendettas against him. And I'm like, I don't think that's the way this goes. However, your point about taking ownership of his career and then the smarts he's used to do that, yes, that is very clearly true. Again, he got paid 20, was it him and Spence each got 25 million?
Yeah, and I like
to fight each other. He deserved every single cent of that, and I'm glad that they got that deal.
It was
that way.
interesting to hear the inside baseball of how he called up Spence directly, and that's suddenly what got the deal
This is exactly
done.
right. This is what I mean.
We're hearing just his side, obviously, but it does really illuminate the mindset, the chess playing of Terence Crawford, even though there's times that we look like he was making the wrong moves, and he did bring up that lawsuit against Top Rank for racism and basically said that they settled out of court, and Terence won big. So I guess more power to him in that regard. I want to play a quick bit of Crawford when he was on Ariel's show recently on the MMA Hour, where he lined up, like, seems like Boots is suddenly a big fight for you, but Luke, he doesn't seem to want Boots, and here's why from Crawford's mouth.
Where I'm at right now, I'm looking at the fight that makes the most sense, and that's not Boots. Canelo is going to bring way more to my legacy, way more to my bank account, because at the end of the day, when boxing is done with, what will we have?
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a legacy that's something that people talk about for the ages. And not only that, I want to have a bank account that will last for ages as well.
Dude, if he fought Canelo and then beat him, he'd have a legacy that would have no limit. I mean, you couldn't say he's the greatest fighter ever, but I'm saying he would have the opportunity to leap into such further discussions of his greatness if he was able to get this fight.
I think
and
his
win
confidence. I think he can beat Canelo. But I did want to point out something. Did you see the video? And it was friendly-ish banter back and forth between him and Eddie Hearn. Did you see this?
Yes.
This is what I mean. Like, he sees Eddie Hearn, and the first thing he does is just start going after him. But I beat your guy this and blah blah blah. And again, it's partly friendly, and Eddie used it so perfectly. But it's like, if you've rubbed half of boxing the wrong way, maybe half of those people misunderstand you. I fully believe that. But also maybe you brought that a little bit on yourself. I a little bit of a lack of awareness about what role he plays in like, he only wants credit for the authorship he's taken for the right decisions that has gone well. He doesn't ever seem to take any authorship over things that were stalled. He tends to just say everyone else failed me. And I'm like, this rings quite inauthentic to me.
Interesting stuff.
By the way,
here.
I have breaking news.
What do you got?
Breaking news. According to Marca, which is the biggest Spanish newspaper in a million years.
Well, this better be good if we're going to Spain for it.
They're saying that, and they're very close to Ilia Topuria, they're saying that his first title defense is going to be in Abu Dhabi on October 26th. So that means he would probably be fighting Max.
Oh, that's big.
October 26th in Abu Dhabi, which means it's an afternoon time. And why is that important? Because if it's in Abu Dhabi, it's prime time in Europe.
Yes.
Which means that it won't be in Spain, it won't be in Europe, but it will be in a place where they can watch on their normal evening schedule.
Dana did say this weekend that he can't go to Spain because all those arenas are backed up post-COVID with their schedules already full. So it's been hard to
I'm
find.
not sure how true that is.
Find a big venue. I mean, he could say what he says.
Yeah.
Quickly, Luke, to close on our boxing talk, we like him extra sloppy. And two heavyweights that we didn't even preview coming in. Derek Chisora at 40 years old in what was going to be billed as his last fight against 38-year-old Joe Joyce turned in a fight of the year contender, Luke, in a sloppy brawl, which Chisora in round 9 throws that lazy counterpunch that floored Joyce. Chisora goes on to earn a close decision. But Luke, this was like rock'em sock'em robot. Does this prove that if you get the right washed fighters, think Diaz and Masvidal in the boxing match, at the right time, you can produce this type of magic?
If you're washed, but you give it what you got against another washed guy who's also giving it what they've got, where it's offense first, defense second. Not no defense, but offense first.
No, there was no defense from Joe Joyce.
Okay, but I'm saying in Diaz Masvidal, there still was some defense. But offense first, it can work. It can absolutely work. That's the formula. Both guys have to give it. Both guys have to be offense first, period. That's how it has to go, but it can work.
So Joe Joyce weighed around 257 pounds in his first fight against Zhang Zheli, in which he got stopped. He ended up getting stopped in the rematch when he put on a lot of weight. Luke, he was up to 281 for this fight. It wasn't that he was completely out of shape. It's just that Joe Joyce squared up from the start, was like, I'm not going to move my head at all or block any punches. And they just had a war, and it was slow. Tim Bradley on the call on ESPN Plus was like, It looked like they're punching in slow motion, but it was sort of like who Chisora is in the end. So I'm glad that he got this moment. But dude, remember when Joe Joyce knocked out Dubois? He knocked out Joseph Parker. Like, dude, he went through a run of these like B plus heavyweights. And then as soon as he ran into Jay Lee Zhang, dude, twice he got handled, and he's kind of done.
That's kind of it.
He's kind of done. We got a great quote by Chisora though, which we had to make our show, Luke. Had to.
I'm like a shit that won't flush.
What a way to end it. I hope he officially does.
That's like MK.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going away. Should we start the shit? Speaking of,
I think
Long
we
Island
should.
Luke,
I don't
or-
think waiting on Andy is gonna. Yeah,
is Randy or Andy coming? Neither of the two.
Randy should be here shortly.
Yeah,
Okay.
Randy Ruiz.
Brian Ortega was great though, so shout out to him.
Listen, that was the most important one.
Until I cut him off. All right, Luke, I scoured the globe over the weekend for the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly, in between. This one's called Have You Seen This Shit? Yeah. Luke Thomas, are you ready for UFC 304 in Manchester content?
My wife is telling me I have to go to a fucking happy hour in Colombia this weekend.
Oh, that's great, dude.
I'm not very excited about
You
that.
should sneak in a lot of edibles.
Oh, yeah, I should just bring drugs to Colombia. I'm sure that will go quite well for me.
Luke, you got to get warmed up before a pay-per-view card like 304. Check out Bruce Buffer loosening it up.
This is me before I take a dump here.
Look at he's very flexible. Do you think he's a sensible lover?
I don't in any way want to consider that
All right.
whatsoever.
Luke, Shauna Bannon scored her first career victory in the curtain jerker, and then her coach
Yeah, this fight was terrible.
ran right into the camera.
Going to jab a little bit more. But stiff jab. High frame, stiff jab. Yeah? Now it's going to start getting laboured. Oh, mate.
Luke, your quote of the weekend really came from Patty. Dude, I'm becoming a fan somehow. And check this delivery, Luke.
Statement made, bitches!
I mean, come on, right?
He's growing on me.
He is. He's slowly growing on you.
I still
You
think
can't-
Toria would have wrecked his shit, but he's growing on me.
Luke, did you see that distraction in the arena the moment the main event of Belal versus Leon ended? It was a brawl in the crowd. Look at this, dude. We got chairs. This
Dude,
was
what the-
wild.
What are they fucking...
Like, no, the NFL game is down the road, folks. Not here. No, not here.
Why? Yeah. What was the one that we saw that was totally... Oh, it was in Mexico.
Yes.
It was a UFC Mexico
It was
show.
uninhibited.
And they let the fight just burn out naturally.
Your pick of the week also involves Patty Pimblett, Luke. This is a pretty sick pick, suitable for framing. Puts King Green to sleep
Dude,
and then mangles
look
his
at
arm.
that fucking arm. That is such
All
a
the while
terrible way to
teabagging
go.
him with the orange shorts.
Well, he's got the athletic gear on with the cup, but yeah, it's not a great look.
All right. It wasn't all fun and games, though, at 304, Luke. We had a couple of fails. How about DC failing to remember the name?
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the welterweight champion, Leon Belal Muhammad.
Leon Rocky Pennington. There we go. Yes.
He, in
that's
fact,
great.
did not remember the name.
And you mentioned Big Ben, Luke. Great quarterback, bad date, but he kept showing up on the broadcast. Here's Mike Heck and GC of MMA fighting fame reacting to it.
They're getting him out of there. Ben Roethlisberger, third down miscues.
What the hell was that?
Well, here it is
Again!
Ben Roethlisberger.
Third down miscues, yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger, third down miscues.
That's Wayne Rooney. And again.
This is no lie. It kept happening.
Volk and MVP, give it to us
MVP,
again.
Volk.
Give it to us a fifth time. Oh, they have to go to break.
What was that, dude? What was the last time?
Shout out to Mike Heck, by the way.
Yeah, Mike Heck is great. Also, Connor Burks there is a great dude as well. Let me just say this. ESPN Plus fucking sucks.
Yes.
They fucking suck.
You know who didn't suck in Detroit over the weekend? Clarissa Shields moving up 2 weight divisions to 175 pounds. And Luke, for the first time since her 4th pro fight, she scored a knockout.
I know, but she's fighting the lady who does like Dunkin'
I
Donuts,
know.
bagels, and shit. You know
so
what I mean?
to kind of get the confusion out of the way, this fight was at 175, which is normally light heavyweight, but 2 of the 4 sanctioning bodies rule 175 as women's heavyweight. So she technically won a vacant heavyweight title and
Did you see the
light
weigh-in?
heavyweight. Yes, it was intense, right?
A lot of cake.
Wow.
A lot of cake.
Okay, let's take that back.
I wasn't mad
But
at
look,
it.
that highlight was legit. And I watched the fight.
Clarissa
Dude, she
Shields
came
is
out-
awesome. She's
she came
so
out
good.
headhunting. She
the
didn't
problem
box.
is, dude, she just doesn't have anybody who can stand up to her.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what
Yes.
weight she goes to. She overmatched. The only way, seriously, this is true. The only way she can find a peer to give her problems is to change sports and to go to MMA. That's it. Other than that, she just wipes the floor with everybody.
Real recognized Real in a massive way this week as MK fan and amateur rising fighter.
Holy shit.
Christian DeGuero on the left. He once put MK right on his package, Luke, and that's Poetan. Damn.
That is amazing. Like, Poetan's fucking...
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's traveling more than Ryan Garcia these days, it seems.
Yeah, but probably a lot more sober.
Yeah,
and less racist and hateful.
Shout out to Christian there. One day, Luke, we're going to have to corner him Coach Latore style. You know it's coming.
I would love to. I owe him video breakdown. I gave him I did go through his tape, and I did talk about some overarching lessons, but I haven't gone through the individual pieces of footage yet.
You need to give him his own.
I do. I promised him I would. I did go through the footage, and we went back and forth with audio clips, so I did do that.
He's one of us at the end of the day. Okay?
He's a fucking great guy.
I love that guy.
Talented fighter too, by the way.
Yeah, I met him once when you had a lot of margaritas. Boxing tip to tip time on this face-off. Extreme tip to tip. That guy's got a hard one like he's McGregor at the Floyd weigh-in. Luke, look at that meat pipe. Wow, that is and he's wow.
Look at these two.
Yep,
they are. You know what?
They do look in love, to be fair. Look, they do. That's great.
Listen, Pride Month was last month, but these two guys look ready for fun.
That was great. Luke, you say vaping is for closers?
Mm-hmm.
Rate this Sphinx.
I've been to the Sphinx.
You have?
Yes.
The Grateful Dead once played right in front of it.
Did they really?
Yeah, it must have been an
Well,
awesome
I remember they were part of the show that we saw. Yeah, I didn't realize that was connected. It is an incredible
that
thing.
long.
I went inside one of the pyramids, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With your father.
With my dad and my brother, yeah.
Okay. What year?
I was 9 years old, so this would have been 89, something like that.
Okay.
90.
Luke, let's check out this lady. Let's see it.
Get the F off my yard!
You could have kept that one.
Okay. See, that was borderline, but I fell for it, Luke. I fell for it. Luke, would you date or swipe on this lady? What do you think? And she did the pig thing. Yeah. No.
I hope she gets hit by a bus.
All right, let's go to white people having
bus.
fun with champagne, Luke.
Shake it really, really hard. Oh.
What the fuck?
That one ended very, not the first death we've shown on this show though, Luke. Okay, that's we've shown dick, we've shown death. What's next? That's my question. All right. This one really hit me hard, Luke. I can feel this guy's pain.
Let's take a quick look at laziness.
My leg is broken.
Dude, did you assemble Okay. Here's what happened. You have clearly assembled a list of things that you think were funny when you were high as a motherfucker. This has bong hits as inspiration written all over it.
Just get high, Luke. You'll probably enjoy it more. Do you remember when we showed the Larry Holmes video of the dropkick?
Yes, one of
Habib
my
style
favorites.
off the windshield?
Yes.
Somebody sent this from a trash reality show, but shout out to this moment.
Oh, shit!
Dylan Dana style.
Dude, what the fuck did she do to deserve... What the fuck?
Yeah. Look, you a big Seinfeld guy? I'm not.
No. I was never a big
I didn't know if
Seinfeld
you were going to
guy.
laugh at this clip then.
Jerry! I'm busting!
Well, what's going on?
Long Island Luke, rate that for me, will you?
10 out of 10.
Okay, he was high when he made this, wasn't he?
I mean, aren't we all, man?
Yeah, I wish.
Luke, you know the old Ricardo Mayorga bit? Keep hitting me, it doesn't hurt me?
Yeah.
Watch this in MMA.
Okay, put your fucking hands up. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, what the fuck are you doing?
Look at the price he paid. They waved off the fight. Stopped defending himself, and the ref gave him
That's in Kazakhstan, the Niza promotion?
Yeah.
Kazakhstan. Dude, what the fuck are these guys doing?
I don't know. People playing
I'm
with
telling
fireworks
you,
all the
regional
time.
MMA is the real shit.
Oh, yeah, that's where
the
anything
real
can
shit.
happen. Speaking of people playing with fireworks.
Can't believe he's white. That seems so out of character. Oh, you fucking ape. You fucking ape.
Wow. All right, let's go to Germany for these two kids fooling around here.
Hi, ich bin's Michel und ich bin Sven und wir zeigen euch heute unseren ultimativen Trick.
Great trick.
What the fuck? Eins, zwei, drei.
Luke, we're getting closer to the combat sports event of the summer. Craig Jones versus Gabby Garcia.
I cannot fucking wait for this.
Have you been watching their pre-fight content?
With Renato Laranja?
Here's just a piece of what we can expect.
How you think you're gonna be a man?
Okay.
What's the way you're gonna do that one? It's never been did before.
It's not, but like, if I put like my mom, my grandma, for watching, like, you know.
I bet your grandma and
your
mom
and me. Shut up. Right, friend. Shut up. About talking about. She's going to go to the Olive Garden. Shut up.
He's gonna take to the bloody Outback Steakhouse, boy.
Oh my God. No, we don't go any place, man. When she died. Shut up.
Okay, and now let's keep.
No, it's like this. Like he crossed the line. He texted my mom.
But this is how we get into.
No lie. She asked for a T-shirt. No, she never asked me nothing. Never asked. She asked for a T-shirt. I said I'd hand deliver it.
Now, what's the matter with that? He's very attractive.
He's my mom.
You think it was delivered by the store?
No, but like
you gotta
my
came
mom.
with yourself.
Like, no, it's okay. But my mom like to take my mom, like, to go give my mom like this.
If you came out, caralho, can you imagine? You better be packing something in there.
Dude, I met Renato Laranja.
My God.
I met him in 2014 at Glory Last Man Standing.
Was he a character?
He didn't do it for me because he was just hanging out. He was actually there just as a fan. He is such a nice guy. I don't know him beyond what I just met, so you know,
hilarious.
He is fucking hilarious. Craig Jones is a star in the sport.
Did you see that other clip where they make a bet? Where
OnlyFans collaboration?
If he can tap her via leg lock, she'll do an OnlyFans collaboration, or if she wins, she gets $1 million. And he's like, either way, she'll be limping out of here afterwards. Yeah. I mean, it's just, damn, dude.
He's the
it's
best.
Hilarious.
He's so unique. And he's giving away Gordon Ryan's Miata on top of that.
Luke, there's a lot of categories that make this next fail exciting. Oh, wow. We checked a few different boxes on that one. And we close, Luke, with the catchiest song of the summer.
I'll go to a strip club, get a boner with a bunch of other guys. This is the greatest
day of... This is the greatest.
Have you ever eaten at a strip club?
Oh, yeah, I have. I've had the buffet before.
So have I.
Yeah,
I've done
it.
it.
You never forget it. The wings are just like, yeah.
I've done it. I did it.
There's scant meat on them wings. You know what I'm saying?
I did at Camelot in Washington, D.C.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you came out.
Camelot's an interesting one. Camelot has been in like a business district for as long as forever.
Yeah.
And it survived COVID on basically between 18th and 19th. And that's like unheard of. Like all the bars around there died. Camelot survived.
All right. I want to thank Brian Ortega for showing up today, Luke.
I want to thank Randy Couture, my favorite guest.
Randy Couture, we'll hopefully get him next week. We missed Andy Ruiz Jr. again, but I am looking forward to that fight Saturday against Big
Well,
Baby
he doesn't
Joel
miss
Miller.
a meal. I mean, let's just be honest about that.
Now we got to do fat jokes now. Wow. That's the show for the week, Luke. Are we coming back for free to talk about Abu Dhabi or no? I mean,
I'm off. I'm going to the airport tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we ain't doing shit.
Yeah, I'm off tomorrow. Right. Or the rest of the week. I'm not doing shit. So.
Okay. Enjoy your vacation, Luke, and your birthday, number 45?
5, yeah. 45 and
What do you feel about joining 45?
Not been my best year. I'm just grateful to have my family support me.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Damn right.
I'm going to leave it at
that's
that.
All
and the support of MK Nation, I should say.
You're also damn right about that. So yeah, Luke, enjoy it. Unplug. So next week, program scheduling reminder. It'll be myself and Chuck Mindenhall in this chair.
Yes, Big Chuck, Big Charles.
So looking forward to see Sir Charles back here. The following week, Luke, week, Luke, you will return to it. We'll be hearing from you. Then I think.
Yes,
on this
I'll
the
be
week
calling
after,
in
but-
from vacation.
From Colombia.
Colombia.
What a great show today, regardless of anything else.
Regardless, not a word, but nevertheless, or not a correct use of the English language at a bare minimum. But I will say that it was a great show today. Brian Ortega was fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks to our intrepid producer Matt for pulling that one.
Yeah. What about our intrepid Australian sidekick?
Aussie
here?
Rules, Luke.
Yeah, Luke. Where can people listen to this Mile High Minute podcast? You got
Main card minute on YouTube, guys. We're like 10 subs away from 1,000. Get me to 1,000.
And so at 1,000, you can get monetized.
Exactly,
correct?
Luke.
Yes.
Now, will you smoke the Mike Tyson hash smoker system on the air during the main card minute?
So this weekend I'm doing PFL, I'm doing the boxing and the UFC. I'll be taking dabs, I'll be taking
All right, but to smoke dabs, that's like next level drugs, right? Or that's normal?
It's a super duper high.
I think if you're still doing marijuana, it's not quite next level.
Yeah.
You got to be falling over in public,
We
like
should have
heroin
talked
style.
weed with or Bottega. We missed that. Yeah, all right. Hey, Long Island Luke, thank you for being you, our great team, and all that. Folks, take care of yourself, okay? We'll see you when we see you next Monday here live and direct.
Yes, thank you to all the MK donks. A bunch of them reached out to me after Friday's calamity, but I'm okay. I'm very good. And for everyone who reached out, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. I'm going to try to reply to as many of them as I can. But
hey, we got good people out there.
We do.
We
are very
ones,
lucky.
but-
This is what I mean. Like, at the end of the day, we actually are pretty lucky. And I do recognize that, and I'm very grateful for that. So I'm going to try and have a couple weeks of vacation where it's not, too stressful. And,
Use our promo code LIVE10 if you want 10% off our merch at morningcombat.store. For DraftKings, for Metal Lark, for all our great people. It's been Luke and BC like it'll always be, okay? We're always Luke, at the end of the day, what is this show? It's a documentation of the up and downs, the growth of men in this life cycle.
It's a community.
It's not always pretty, Luke.
It's a community.
But we will rise.
And it's also about two guys, not us, but two guys we have touching dicks. That's really what it's about.
All right.
As fighters.
That's about all. That's all I got left.
May all your gains be loyal, bitches.
Yeah, I don't know.